Hey, welcome back to the Unlockable podcast, where today Hannah and I are going to talk all about the game that we just spent the last 5 weeks playing non-stop. It's Tears of the Kingdom, the indisputable king of 2023 as of June 20th. This is our second time doing an episode centered around one single game that we played specifically for the show, which is something we will be doing more of in the future, but this one is a little different since it's a brand new game. Generally speaking, we'll be playing older games, not brand new releases for these episodes. Like next month, we'll be doing Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. But yeah, please be sure to rate and review this podcast wherever you're listening to this so other people can find out about it. And let's get started. Welcome back to the Unlockable podcast. I'm Christian, also known as Bird Dog Gaming Online, and I'm joined by Hannah, the Game Girl Advanced SP herself.
That's me.
I don't know about Florida, but right now, something crazy is happening here in Texas.
Oh, God.
When I put something in on Apple Maps, it is telling me that there is like a heat advisory. Like, the route you are about to take is under so much heat that we have to warn you about it.
Oh, man, that's crazy. No, nothing like that down here, but we have been kind of swamped with water, which, it's Florida. It makes sense. We live in the swamp, but still, it's like pouring every single day.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. But, that's Florida.
I could go for a little rain. I feel like it would cool this pavement off. Like, my roommates walked their dog and they said that it was so hot at like 11 a.m. that she might have burnt her paw on the freaking concrete.
Oh, that's so sad.
It's crazy.
Gotta get those little booties. Little dog booties.
Yeah, they actually have those. It's adorable.
That's so cute.
Hannah, how long do you think this podcast is going to be?
It depends. Do you want it to be really long? Because I'm sure we can make it really long. I have a lot of things to say. Let me tell you.
I'm not going to put a time limit on it. I just want it to be full and complete. This whole podcast, you have speculated and drooled over this game for literal years.
Yes.
Since
6
before
years.
We started this podcast. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Way back in 2019. And, I mean, this is a big one. And we've talked about Breath of the Wild so freaking much that I don't know. It would not surprise me or disappoint me if this was a longer episode.
Well, now, when I refer to Breath of the Wild, should I refer to Tears of the Kingdom as well? Or should I refer to Breath of the Wild? Should I update my standards here?
Right. That being said, I think it's time that we just dive right in. There's lots to talk about here. This goes without say, but if you're tuning into this podcast, this is going to be nonstop spoilers. All right, we're not holding anything back. It's June 20th. Game's been out 5 weeks, and yeah, you wouldn't be listening to this if you didn't want spoilers. So,
I also would like to preface by saying that we are not professional reviewers. Okay, this is all based on our opinions. We're being as subjective as possible, right? It's our opinions, so not objective. But yeah, I'd just like to say that first before we say anything stupid or without any substantial concrete evidence. Like, oh, it made me feel this way. That's the kind of reviewers we are.
All right, yeah, let's just get started with our progress, our stats that we kind of, we're both finished with the game. Let's start by saying that. So I finally got to finish the game last night. I did it live on stream, and we wanted to start this episode off by talking about how many hours we played, so, total map coverage, all of that nonsense. So why don't we take turns going down by each bullet point here. How many hours did you get into Tears of the Kingdom before today?
Before today? Well, I mean, it could have been up to a few hours ago. But yeah, so I put in about 100, 105 hours total. So.
Okay. I thought I was at 85 or more, according to my Switch, but I turned it on just now, and I'm at 90 or more. So,
wow, look at that.
It's always interesting getting to another threshold on the Switch, another 5-hour increment.
I hate the or more. Like, can't you just give me a time and maybe round it up by an hour? I hate that. But yeah, I think when I beat the game, I was about 80 hours in. Maybe. I was in no rush, by the way. You definitely could have beaten it before then, but I was just enjoying my time. I
Right.
probably would not have beat it if we didn't have to talk about it. I would have just waited.
Yeah, same. What I'm doing with Scarlet and Violet, what I did with Scarlet and Violet was like I really wanted to complete the Pokédex. I've probably talked about it on the show, but like I really did not want to beat the game until I had finished the Pokédex, because if I don't do that, then I cross it off my list and then it just goes way down on the priority list. And so that's exactly what happened with Breath of the Wild for me. I think I probably mentioned that recently, but
Uh-huh.
um, yeah, I made sure to play as long as I could with this game before the podcast and still be able to beat it. And I'm glad I did. And I definitely plan to play more of the game after the podcast.
I agree. I just wasn't in any hurry to like finish the story. Like, of course I love the story, that's like why I play a lot of the games, but like I didn't want it to end, you know, if I just prolonged ending it, then I could just live blissfully in this world forever. But now it's over, now we have to wait like another 10 years for the next one, so that's kind of sad, but other than that. But yeah,
Total game completion. What did
I
your
was
map
watching
say?
you
Oh, go
play,
ahead.
and I thought that your map completion, or your just total game completion, that has nothing to do with maps, would be a lot more than it is. And I looked at your depth, like the map of the depths, and you had like maybe like 5 light routes, and I thought that was so funny. So currently I'm at 70% complete. It's like 70.83.
Yeah, I don't even want to talk about the depths. I don't want to skip ahead, but we'll get to it. 40%. I'm at 39.57, something like that. I'm rounding to 40%.
Wow.
Um, the breakdown for Shines, Light Roots, Korok Seeds. Go ahead.
So I have 144 shrines, I have 119 light roots, and I have 343 Korok seeds.
So I got 78 shrines. I
Oof.
got 21 light roots, and I
Oh!
got 68 Koroks.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
It's
We are
crazy to
vastly different
think.
players.
It's crazy to think that we didn't play that much different hours, and you have like double all of my stats.
I guess I'm like an expert. Something happens when you play Breath of the Wild for 400 hours. You just know where things are.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
We both beat the game. Map
Yep.
completion. Oh, I don't know if I. So I guess this one right here, we wrote down map completion, sky, underground, ground level. So is this just like a yes or no?
Yeah, so did you complete any of the maps? Like filling out all of the towers or all the
Okay.
light routes? I can tell you that you haven't finished all the light routes, but definitely not the depths.
Um, I didn't explore the entirety of the sky. Definitely got
What?
all of the ground level.
Oh boy.
I don't even know. Like, there's no real way to say that you've gotten all of the sky area because there's no shrine. There's no what is it? The towers.
Well, the towers map out both the ground level and the sky. So if you've gotten all the ground level, then you've gotten all of the sky.
Oh, fair enough. I definitely didn't land on every sky island.
Gotcha. Well, I did. So I have the sky completely filled out, obviously the bed of Hyrule completely filled out, and I swear to God I have all the depths completed, but you don't know this, I guess, but if other people have tried to complete the depths, you can get all of like the surrounding light routes and have a teeny little itty bitty like dime sized piece of the map, and it is so hard to find if it's incomplete. And so there's got to be one of those left on my map, and I just could not find it. Because it'll tell you. It says, you know, all the light routes found, blah, 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 blah. And I haven't got that message yet. So.
Interesting.
I'm looking for that one. But other than that, I have them all complete.
Dragon's Tears.
Got them all, baby. Every memory, got it.
So you already know this because you were in the stream, but I did not know how to get the first Dragon's Tear. And so I went and killed the final boss, and I did not get the bonus cutscene, but we'll talk about that later. So yeah, I got all except for number 1.
Man, that's like the most important one.
Yeah, you keep tempting me. You keep baiting me to want to talk about things, but I'm just gonna wait. Last
Sorry.
thing here. All different types of quests. So literally all those tabs that you see on the quests, I guess tab. You got your main quest, side adventures, shrine quest, and the insane amount of side quests. How many main quests, Hannah?
I have,
23.
well, I mean, technically it says 21 out of 23, but I've beaten the game, so it's technically 23 out of 23. But yes,
Well,
got
what are the
those
other
ones.
two? Kill Ganon and
Find Princess Zelda is the other
oh
one.
yeah, that makes sense.
So technically all of them. Same thing with you, obviously.
Nope, I have 19.
What?
So I know one for sure was I never went underground and found any of the pointing statues that are all pointing to the next area that points to the where Ganon's gonna be. So that's
Right.
one of them. And I'm assuming another one would be related to that first Dragon's Tier, but I'm not sure.
Huh. I thought you would have completed all of them. Dang, man, you didn't even finish those ones? Those are the well, I mean, they're not easy, but dang, those are the best ones.
Side
Anyway, I guess
adventures?
side adventures, I have 55 out of 60.
16.
Ooh. Ooh.
This is crazy, Hannah. What was I like running in circles while you were playing the
I
game?
don't know. Yeah, what were you doing? Oh man, did you
I
get
got
lost and just sit there
7
for a
shrine
while?
quests.
Did you say 7?
7.
Oh, 28 out of 31.
Which one are those? That's where you have to bring the rock to the rock?
There's a couple. There's where you have to bring the crystal to like the base of the shrine. Then there's also ones that I don't know. There's like a rumor in town or whatever that you heard about this, or some where you have to get the rock from a person, or just stuff
Mm.
like that. Just anything that ends in like a quest. You finding a quest at the end.
You mean a shrine at the end?
I mean, yes. Also, can we just talk about how confusing the naming conventions are for these? It's just
Side
so strange.
adventures and side quests.
It's like, what is the difference? Those are synonyms. All right, last
Yeah.
one. I bet you. Okay, hold on. Wait, Luke, can I guess how many side quests you did?
You may, respectfully,
11.
24.
Oh, okay. That's not bad. I have 69 out of 139. That's why I was so shocked. But I guess that makes sense. There's going to be more of those because they're short.
I don't know. The stat comparison here really feels like you played double the amount of game I play. It's really interesting. But, um, yeah.
Wait, hold on.
Like I said, not done with the game.
Did you do that thing where you just kind of like pause it and walk away for 5 hours? Because that would
No,
definitely
no, I didn't
embellish your
do
time.
that.
Okay, good. I'm glad we're past that. I'm glad we don't do that anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's so
there were
strange.
multiple occasions where I thought about our conversation from one of these episodes, and I was like, you know what? Let me lock the screen. There's no reason not to lock the screen.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I mean, really, only psychopaths just walk away. How could you do? How? I just don't get it. But yeah, wow, that is so strange that
um,
we have such vastly different numbers, and we're only 15 hours apart of gameplay.
you said 105.
Yeah,
Oh, that's even after you beat the game. You said you were like 90 when you beat the game or something.
yeah,
That's crazy. Well,
this
I
moves
guess
fast.
okay. So yes, the 15 hours still counts because that's all your stats combined.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna start talking about the story, and then we're gonna break down the gameplay. I think that you are well equipped to break down the story for us, and I will chime in
All
if
right.
that sounds good.
Yes, definitely. So first, we're going to talk about how this story is actually delivered, which was such a weird, controversial thing in Breath of the Wild. But we'll talk about that. So obviously, a lot of the story was in cutscenes, versus like gameplay, like actually like talking to people and doing these things. But I think it struck a really good like middle ground between just like the like finding the memories and also gameplay, because I feel like you're more connected to the characters in this one, versus the other ones because you've never even actually met them. But the cutscenes are delivered in the form of memories, or tears, I guess. Tears of the Kingdom. How many were there total? I should have checked that. 14?
18 memories, probably like 14 tears.
Or 13? I think it might be 13. Anyway, so there's these tears, or these places where you go, and you get these tears, and they just kind of translate into memories all across Hyrule. So you have to find them. They're in the form of, like, what are they called? Glyphs? What is it called?
Yeah.
They're glyphs, right? Which I think, first of all, can we just talk about how freaking cool that is? So you're going to see them from the sky.
Oh, yeah.
And then just totally dive down to them. That was so creative.
No, they look so cool on, like, from the sky. It looks really awesome.
They're, like, shiny and glimmery and golden. Or not golden, but, like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, shimmery.
Yeah, I love it. I always loved it. And then even up close, they still look good. And it wasn't like super hard to find the actual tier. You know, if you were up above looking, you could totally see like the filled in spot that you needed to go to.
Yeah, it's funny because the Koroks would actually hide in some of the other tiers, and so you'd think you're going to the one, and it'd just be like a rock, and you pick it up and there's a Korok under. Did you experience that or no?
Yeah, I couldn't tell if they were always mirrored, but you knew there was always at least one there.
Uh-huh. And then besides the tiers getting those, also if you go to like main areas like the Deku Tree would also give you another memory. Also playing through all of the temples once you meet the sages, it would also give you another memory, kind of more just insight into like what happened in the past, which was a major thing that people didn't like about Breath of the Wild, was that none of like the story, like you actually played through it. You know, you just kind of witnessed it from, you know, whatever 100 years in the past, you know. But this one obviously was tens of thousands, so we don't even know how long in the past, but it felt more connected. Like Breath of the Wild felt like really disjointed, like all the memories weren't really connected at all. It was just kind of like bits that happened up to the calamity, whereas this one was telling like an overarching story. Like each memory kind of led into the next one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they were really cool, and it didn't even bother me when I would find them out of order. You know, it was kind of like filling in a puzzle. You know, I watched Memory 15, and then I go back and watch 3, and then 12. Like, it was cool.
Like, it left you with enough questions. Even if it did answer a question, it also brought up more questions, which would then be solved or answered by finding the other ones. So like you said, it's like filling in a puzzle. Even if you got to the end, you would still want to see what happened in the beginning, you know?
Right.
But yeah, and then other than that, it was also like going to the towns and kind of talking with people. The 4 companions later turned into the sages. You know, you learn about them, what they've been up to in the whatever undetermined time between the end of Breath of the Wild and this one, how they're rebuilding, how blah, 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 this happens. I think they were really good with incorporating that as well. So you did play through some of the story, but obviously the majority of the story was in cutscenes.
Right.
But yeah, I loved it. So what did you think about the story?
I think first and foremost, we're gonna have to talk about that amazing intro sequence. But overall, the story was really interesting. I don't know if we should talk about the voice acting, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and bring up the voice acting. I think Zelda's voice actress is just phenomenal. I think Zelda's character in general is just really, really awesome. But the like the entire story, I enjoyed it. I was captivated the entire time up until the end, and I did end up Googling the cutscene that I missed because I didn't get every freaking memory.
You cheated.
Oh my gosh, I cheated.
You cheated. You didn't deserve that cutscene.
I have to freaking do a podcast, Hannah.
Oh, you're right. I could have filled you in. But wow. Cheater.
I don't know. What are your overall thoughts?
I obviously liked the story. I actually liked it a lot. But some of the elements, if you're like a diehard Zelda lore fan like I am, were kind of repeated from the other Zelda games, which didn't necessarily make it bad, but it's just like, oh, you know, we've seen this before. It's just slightly different. So, like, the go back in time, like Zelda did, obviously what she did turning into a dragon and shit. That was obviously all new. But like just the going back in time so that the things that happen in the distant past affect what happens in the like the present future that you're playing through. There were similar aspects like that from Skyward Sword. Also, the whole sky thing again from Skyward Sword. You know, there were people that lived on the sky. You go to the sky to the land, but obviously it was a lot more open world. There wasn't like you could only go through this certain portal. Blah 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 to the ground. So that was kind of very similar, but I think that they changed it enough so where like Zelda fans like me would still be pleased with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there were multiple times, as someone who hasn't played Skyward Sword, there were multiple times where they used the word skyward, and I was like, is that a reference? Am I missing a reference here?
I mean, totally. If you look at the map, there's all sorts of references to every single Zelda game ever. But all sorts of stuff. Like even we'll get into it a little bit later, I guess, but when we talk about the timeline, but we don't know where this one takes place. It has neither been confirmed nor denied by Nintendo where it takes place. So it can take place anywhere you want it to, really.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked it. It was definitely captivating. Like I wanted to get more story, but at the same time I didn't want to ingest all of the story at one time. Like I wanted to watch memory and then like think about it for a little while, and then I'd play and do some Koroks and shrines and blah blah blah, and then it'd be like, okay, I want some more story now. I can't hold myself back.
Yeah. I mean, can we please just talk about the opening sequence? I thought it was so freaking good. One of the best opening sequences in a video game that I've ever really experienced. Like, not even the part where they cut you loose a little bit and you get to go explore, but like the freaking opening cutscene. You're climbing down this staircase with Zelda, and you're walking through these tunnels, these caves, and just all the way up to the part where Link gets the freaking arm. It is so good. The atmosphere, everything about it, I loved it.
I agree. It's definitely in stark contrast to how you start off Breath of the Wild, which is just like Link waking up and you're like really confused, like what the heck is going on. But this one, you're like, oh, I get it. Like I'm under the castle, I'm exploring this, and something awful is about to come. I love that. And then just being able, I love when they incorporate something where you can like do any sort of action in between cutscenes, and then like they're like talking to each other, or like the story's still progressing while you're like walking. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I talked to Zelda during that, and I would talk to her like 3 or 4 times, and she would have a different little blurb of something to say. Yeah,
that was so cool. Yeah, I loved that. That was awesome. We need more openings like that. And also being like, have your strength and your hearts all the way maxed out. It was like, hell yeah, look at me, I'm unbeatable. But then, of course, obviously, psych, you're not. But, you know, it felt cool to be all powered up.
It felt like every Metroidvania ever, because that's how it always starts in, like, a Metroid Prime. You start out as the super cool Samus, and then you get stripped away because of some stupid BS, but yeah.
Heck yeah. That was awesome. Yeah, definitely.
What do we want to talk about? The characters?
Yeah, we might as well.
Okay. Well, there's this guy Link. He's an elf.
Ooh, an elf?
Well, okay, so there's gonna be a whole lot of me like not remembering Breath of the Wild at this podcast. So I don't know which characters are new. I believe Pora is a brand new character. Is that correct?
No.
Okay. Why don't you
Definitely
do this
not.
then? Because it's gonna be me stumbling.
Okay, so there's the 4 main partners, which are they're called companions. They also turn into sages. They're the one that kind of, well, actually there's 5, sorry. There's 4, like, in current timeline, and then 1 from the distant past, blah, blah, blah. So there's Tulin, Yunobo, Riju, Sidon, and Minoru. The only new one that we meet in this one is Minoru. You meet her in her, like, animalistic goat humanoid form. And then you play as her in Zonai Technology, which is super cool. And then you're introduced to only through cutscenes and then kind of like voice talking to you, Rauru, the first king of Hyrule, who's the one that possesses Link, who changes his arm and why he can do those cool things, and his wife Sonia, also introduced in the cutscenes. Then there's Impa, old. We know her. She's the old lady. She was once the, I don't want to say ruler, just the leader of Kakariko Village. She's a Sheikah. She's been in a bunch of series before this. And then Robbie, which is the leading Sheikah technology guy, and how he, hooks up your pad and all that kind of stuff. He's like the technology guy. Then there's Paya, which is Impa's granddaughter, I believe. She becomes the new leader of Kakariko Village since Impa decides to travel around and look at the glyphs. Then there's Josha, who is the leading depths researcher. She's the one who talks to you about the statues and all that fun stuff. Then there's Toro, I think that's his name. He's the one investigating the ring ruins in Kakariko Village. Then there's Hestu, which is the Korok seed guy. I don't know what you call him. He's not a leader. He's just a really big Korok. He's the one who expands your inventory if you give him Korok seeds. Then you talked about Purah. She's the one that gives you the Purah pad, which is equivalent to the Sheikah Slate in Breath of the Wild. It's got like your map where you can take pictures, your compendium, blah 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 blah, the sensor, all that kind of stuff. She was in Breath of the Wild, but she had experimented with some kind of like age reversing technology, and so she was the child in the room with Robbie. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
No, definitely not.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, she was the child, and then since this is sometime in the past, she grows up, and she also has reverse aging technology, so she reverses herself back to a normal age, but she's supposed to be as old as Impa, so just let that one sink in, because they're sisters. And then there's Teba, which is he also showed up in Breath of the Wild. He was the one that he was the leader of Rito Village, and then his son, I believe, is Tulin, which is one of the companions. And then, of course, Master Koga reappears in this game as well. Those are the main characters. And then you also meet, I guess, like, the 4 companions, like retainers, or like their bodyguards, or like someone close to them. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The really
definitely less
buff,
important. I couldn't tell you their names.
Yeah, of course. The really, really buff one who's with Riju, which is the Gerudo. Then the really old Goron, who's like his back is hurt. Those kind of people that you interact with, but like they're not really that important.
I gotta give a shout out to my boy Penn. I really love that guy.
Who?
Penn the Pelican. Penn and Tracy.
Oh yeah, I forgot about him. Yeah, I agree. What does he say at the end? Like, wow, or whatever. Yeah. He shoots away. Heck yeah, I forgot about them. Yeah, they're great too. I liked him. But yeah, as far as characters goes, that's really the main ones that you kind of interact with.
Yeah, this won't surprise you, but I did not even see Master Koga the entire playthrough.
Oh my goodness gracious. He is... I love... Oh, did you meet him in Breath of the Wild?
I don't remember. It's been too long.
Oh, bruh. Okay, so if you go in Gerudo, I don't know, it's not the Gerudo Canyon, but it's a little bit northwest of that, but there's like their little hideout or whatever. So the first time you meet Master Koga, well, I don't know if it's the first time, but you meet him in Breath of the Wild, and you kick him down like, I think it's called like the endless something or other, but it's a chasm that opened up in Breath of the Wild, and so you throw him down there, and then in this game you find him down there, and he's like, I can't believe you threw me down that long big hole. It was like just such a cool like callback. Like, I don't know if they had planned for that the entire time, but the fact that like the Yiga clan like occupied the depths because you threw their master down there in a previous game, I just loved that. I thought that was so fun.
You have no idea where they thought of, like, what order they thought of those two things, but either way, it's cool as heck.
Or if at all, if they were just like, yeah, let's just throw him down a hole and then we'll just presume dead. And then it's like, nope, next game we're going to have a super expansive depths underground and have this whole, like, sub-community down there. That was so freaking cool.
Okay. Anything else for characters?
No, I think that's pretty much it.
Well, setting, we are in Hyrule again, and I am excited to talk about. I guess this is the spot where we talk about. Nope, we have that written down later. Anyways, I think you're gonna be well suited to talk about the timeline and where when we are exactly. But yeah, as
Yes.
far as setting goes, we are on the exact same map again.
Yeah, so it's the exact. Well, I mean, it's the exact same Hyrule, but of course things have changed enough for it to be like fresh and new, which I think is something that
Yeah.
they totally they nailed it. Like I was so worried when we saw that it's going to be the same Hyrule that it wasn't going to be changed enough. And I've played that thing for 400 hours, so I know like everything and everywhere where it goes. But they added chasms and shrines, and they kind of changed everything up enough so like all of the fun locations that we remember were like completely different. So, one of my
Yeah.
favorite instances of that is if you go back to the Shrine of Resurrection, which is how you start Breath of the Wild, the first one on the tutorial island, which is called the Great Plateau. It's now a giant hole, and it doesn't take you down to the depths, but it does take you down to a Yiga hideout. So they've kind of infiltrated, and the shrine's no longer there. All the chic tech is gone from
Mm.
this one. I just thought that was so fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, setting exactly is Hyrule. Can we just talk about like the in-game characters real quick? They think that Calamity Ganon is gone, right? He vanishes, poof, disappears, everything is great. And then we don't know how long it is between the ending of Breath of the Wild and this game, but could you imagine just like trying to get your life back together, you're building your house, and then the same fucking shit happens again, and all your shit is torn down. And you're like, I give up, I'm moving. We're no longer living in Hyrule. It's like it sucks for the NPCs, you know? And they're just like, well,
Yeah,
it's another day.
the instant you hear Zelda's gone, you gotta start packing. You're like, oh, not again, bro.
Absolutely not. The freaking blood moon won't go away. There's enemies here. They just destroyed my house. I'm gone. I'm out of here. It's not worth it. I thought that was so funny. Because, I mean, the Breath of the Wild, complete demolition of the entire freaking Hyrule, right? And you can see the signs of rebuilding in this one, which is why there's, like, pallets of wood and stuff, which you can build with all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
And then gone. Just wiped out again. And the fact is that not only do you have enemies, which, you know, you've dealt with before, Ganon and whatnot, but you have shit falling from the sky. Giant ruins and blocks of stuff falling from the sky.
No one is safe.
It's so funny. It's not funny, of course, for them, but, like, it's funny.
Atmosphere?
Yeah, atmosphere, I mean, it's very similar to Breath of the Wild. It's obviously super, super dark because a lot of people die, but it's not like, that's not like what the game is about. It's got like light moments and funny moments. In terms of like the soundtrack and the ambiance, it's very similar. It's not like blaring Zelda music at you all the time like in all the other games. It's very well composed into the background, and as you transition from one spot to the other spot, it's very smooth. It's not like very jarring and cantankerous like some of the other ones are. Like Skyward Sword, like blasts that music at you, dude. It lets you know where you are. But this one, it's like you can play and just totally forget that music is even playing, which I know some people like and some people don't like.
Yeah, I think there's definitely times where it can be a little too quiet. I don't know. I mean, I prefer it. I prefer music when I'm playing video games, but I don't know. I haven't played a lot of open world games. You know, I haven't played some of the biggest open world games like freaking Skyrim. I don't have things to compare it to.
Right.
But it's not bad by any means. You know, I'd say it suits it well.
I agree. Definitely agree. What was your favorite soundtrack? Or least favorite?
Honestly, I love hearing the very subtle throwback to old games when you go to a fairy fountain. You know, you can like hear Ocarina of Time every time you go see one of them. But I also really love checking out the horse stables. I think they have a good little soundtrack there too.
I agree. I also like that one. I think my favorite, I liked the ending music a lot when you're riding around.
Oh,
on the dragon.
yeah.
I think that was so good. But just like a really subtle change is when you're jumping down from any of the sky islands, it's got like a little twinkle mixed into like the other music, and I love that. I wish they had like I don't know, brought that forward to like the forefront a little more, but I love that like little it's very subtle, like little twinkle as you're going from the sky to the other stuff. I love that. And as far as not least favorite, but like maybe the scariest, Blood Moon, hated that, but that's the same from Breath of the Wild. That shit sucks and it's terrifying. And then the depths could be really, really creepy. And then when the gosh darn gloomy hands and they're like screaming at you as they're coming towards you. I hated that. I hated it.
Those things are something else. I mean, those things killed me as soon as they came on screen multiple times.
I hated those. You were talking about how the Blood Moon scares you and you mute it every time. And I was like, totally agree with that. And I was like, that is not even the scariest music to me in the whole game. The hands, they're screaming at you as they're chasing you. The whole environment turns red and really scary, very crimson. And they're chasing you. It's horrifying.
Yeah, honestly, every time the Blood Moon came on, I mashed the button to skip it. There was just
skip.
I stopped muting it. I grew up a little bit, and then I just started skipping it as fast as possible.
Yeah, I don't sit there and watch it every time, but I hate it. And the fact that you can see the Blood Moon in the sky, like, I don't know, 30 seconds before it happens. Yeah. Or no, even probably longer than that, probably a couple minutes. And you're like, God dang it, I wish I could just skip over this.
The fact that it moves so quickly into the sky is also a little unsettling, I think.
Mm-hmm. And you see, like, in this one it's different, though, because you can kind of see, like, the gloom coming up from the chasm. So sometimes it, like, freaked me out and it scared me as it's, like, coming over the horizon. But you can see the red strands coming and you know. And you're like, man. And then I think going down underneath Hyrule Castle, how the music gradually becomes, like, more... I don't want to say, it's like they put like people talking audio in reverse, but like even if you reverse it, it doesn't make any noise. But you know, it's got like that unsettling, unhuman like human singing, if that makes sense. And it gets gradually louder and louder and louder and louder until you get to the very end, and it's like bang, jarring at you, like jarring, like right in your face. It's like,
are you talking about at the end of the game?
Yeah, when you're underneath Hyrule Castle and you're going to fight Ganon. It's crazy how good that music is. It makes the hair on your arm stand up. That's how it is. But yeah, I loved it. I love just the ambiance in the back.
I guess that's it. I think we're ready to dive into the lore, the timeline, all of it. I'm very excited to hear you connect the Age of Calamity to all of this, because I'm sure a lot of the listeners haven't played Hyrule Warriors, myself included.
Well, buckle up. It's not very long, and if you don't like story and timeline, then I don't go too much into the story. But yeah, okay, so we're going to start off with Breath of the Wild. This is going to give you the timeline just of the three. It's kind of a trilogy-ish, because it uses like the same characters and like the same engine and stuff, but I don't know if a lot of people consider Age of Calamity canon because it's got time travel and all sorts of weird stuff, but it's kind of like a trilogy. So like I said earlier, the timeline, we don't really know where Breath of the Wild falls in the timeline. Nintendo has refused to say anything about it. They're like, you know what, we just want the player to interpret where they think it is, and there is evidence for every single timeline. And I know a lot of people put forward the fact that maybe the three branches of the timeline after Ocarina of Time splits and becomes three, that this Breath of the Wild is a convergence of all of them. So like no matter how far in the future you go, it is always going to end up being Breath of the Wild. Take that with a grain of salt, or you can say Breath of the Wild is like a complete reboot of the timeline. Whatever you want to say. But we're going to start off with Breath of the Wild. So it tells the events of what happened 10,000 years ago in the first Calamity, right? With Calamity Ganon appearing in Hyrule Castle and using his malice to take over Hyrule, obviously by like infecting the enemies and whatnot, like the Bokoblins and Moblins, all that stuff. But obviously the people of that time, they ultimately beat him back. They don't really, they use the Guardians and the Divine Beast, whatever, and they beat him back somehow. Like the Zelda and the Link, or the hero and the princess of that time beat him back, right? And then you play Breath of the Wild, and then you realize that Link has been asleep for 100 years. So the current timeline when you're playing through Breath of the Wild is at least 10,000 in 100 years. But a lot of the story, like we said earlier, the memories that you get are from 100 years prior. So that's taking place during the second Calamity. So the memories that they have are from whatever Link and Zelda did with the 4 champions. Calamity Ganon appears again. And then they try to use the Divine Beast and the Guardians to defeat him again, like they did 10,000 years ago, but obviously they fail because Ganon is smart enough to take over the Guardians, and that's how there's just this widespread death everywhere. It's a calamity, right? And so, obviously they try to do this, and it fails, obviously, because, like I just said, Ganon takes over everything. Link dies, and then there's 100 years where he's sleeping, and Zelda is temporarily sealing Ganon in the castle for 100 years. So then you play through Breath of the Wild, blah, blah, blah. And at the end of that, you defeat Ganon, or Zelda defeats Ganon, and she uses her Triforce sealing powers, whatever you want to call that, right? And then it just kind of like, poof, vanishes. You kind of think he's gone at the end of that. And all of the ghosts of the champions, whatever they're saved from the Scrooges, or whatever they're called, blah, 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 blah. So then Breath of the Wild ends, and now we go to Tears of the Kingdom, which the game opens up with Link and Zelda, like we said, exploring caves under Hyrule, blah, 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 blah. And they discover the corpse of Ganon. And as the corpse begins to reanimate, the cave starts to crumble, but both Link and Zelda fall. Link fails to catch Zelda, and Zelda just kind of disappears. She, just vanishes.
Let me pause.
Yeah.
Why does the freaking corpse start to wake up right at that exact moment? Or am I just not supposed to question that?
It's just one of them things. It's just one of them story things.
Okay. Just making sure I didn't miss something.
It's just at the point where Ganon's power is strong enough for him to, move, I think.
Okay, that's and they just happen to be exploring at that exact moment. Okay.
It's one of them. What is it called? Plot. It's not a plot hole, but it's just something that happens just because,
I'm cool with that. It's a video game.
Yeah. Okay, so where was I? Zelda falls, then disappears, and of course this whole thing is called the upheaval. That's where all the chasms open up, where all the skies start to frickin' fall. All of that jazz. Then, as we're realizing, Zelda has somehow, because she's the Sage of Time, traveled back to undisclosed amount of time. It's got to be more than 10,000 years, because 10,000 years ago was the first calamity. But we have to assume that Ganon was already under the castle prior to that. So we don't know how long into the distant past. So that's another thing that we don't know. Also, it describes the founding of Hyrule. And then the Zonai came down from the heavens because they were descendants of gods. Which is something that kind of similar happened in Skyward Sword. But it's, again, the re-establishment of Hyrule. So, again, don't know where that takes place on the timeline because we thought we already knew the establishment of Hyrule. So maybe that Hyrule got destroyed in the future. It doesn't matter. You know what? It's just one of them timeline things. But in the distant past, Zelda takes the Master Sword from the present, from you at the Temple of Time, restores it for at least 10,100 years plus. Probably, I don't know, 100,000 years? Who knows? Restores the blade until you get to the present day. So, at any given point while playing Breath of the Wild, there's 2 Zeldas there. There's Dragon Zelda, and then there's, regular Zelda walking around, and then there's also, Spirit Zelda who's holding Ganon captive. So, at any point, there's 2 Zeldas. So, if you're one of those people who believes in, endgame time travel, or, any of those other concepts of travel, we're in that realm right now.
Interesting.
So then you play through the events of Tears of the Kingdom. And then we don't know where it's going to go from here. So the whole timeline between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom is a minimum of 10,100 years. But definitely way more than that, because that was when the first calamity happened.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So then Age of Calamity, which is the warrior-style Zelda game, it takes place... like I said, I don't know if you want to consider this to be canon or not, but if you use, endgame style logic, which is if you do something, you create, an alternate timeline, and that timeline branches out, that kind of appears to be this one, even though it's canonicity, I think that's how you say it, is debatable. So basically, the events of Breath of the Wild are happening, you're in the middle of the events, in the cutscene, and then an egg guardian, who you've never seen before in Breath of the Wild, even though he's in Zelda study, goes back in time to a point before the second calamity, the one that you're playing through in Breath of the Wild, starts to happen, and changes the events of all of those so that Ganon never wakes up to the calamity.
Oh, wow.
Like he's never the swirling pig around Hyrule Castle. Which, knowing what we know now, that was just Calamity Ganon's powers erupting from Corpse Ganon. So does that mean that they just kind of like pushed back the resurrection of Corpse Ganon by a couple of years? Or like 10,000 years? Or like, because obviously Ganon is still there. You don't ever change that fact. He's always underneath the castle. Even in Age of Calamity, you just don't know it. So I don't know where that actually leaves Age of Calamity. But the events of Breath of the Wild never occur, so it's definitely in its own timeline. If that makes sense. Wow, that's
crazy.
Yeah. And I like this stuff, but I'm obviously not an expert in it, so that is just my understanding. But I'm sure there's some theorists and whatever out there who like know the timeline really, really well. But that is my understanding. So
I mean, I feel like I would be able to sleep better at night if Nintendo would come out and just confirm something, but
I'm sure they would too, but yeah. So it's definitely the longest time period we've ever had between the lore and one game to the next. Even though it's an undisclosed amount in all of them, 10,000 years is like a long time. Especially the plus.
A little bit.
But yeah, hopefully that was easy to understand at least. I try to explain it my best because it is confusing. Not gonna lie.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about on timeline?
The only thing that I guess most people know is that Tears of the Kingdom takes place, I'm gonna say like a few years after Breath of the Wild. It could be a couple months, could be a few years, but it's the same Link, it's the same Zelda. All that kind of stuff. And all the characters that you meet, like Tulin, Yunobo, all those are like the same versions. It's just a couple years later.
Gotcha. All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes here. Let's talk about gameplay. I'm excited. Probably because I just spent 85 hours playing this game, 90 hours, and I really just wanted to talk to you about it the whole time, Hannah.
Me too. I so wanted to like text you and be like, oh my god, I saw this really cool thing. And I was like, no spoilers. We'll wait to talk about it.
And there's like I think this is new, but they have this like coordinate system and like, you can totally tell your friend or whatever exactly where something is, which is kind of neat.
Yes, that was definitely a much needed addition, especially since you have the sky and now down below.
Oh yeah.
I really liked that they added that.
X, Y, and Z.
Yes, 3 dimensions, baby.
To start this section off here, let's talk about what path we took.
After you go through the cutscene in the beginning, then you wake up on an island in the sky. So somehow between the time where you fell and then the Zonai guy, Rauru was like, here, take my arm, because yours is like hella messed up. I'm going to shoot you into the sky. And then you wake up there.
I think the introduction here, this little, comparing this to the Great Plateau, I think that this was a very cool tutorial. That's the word I'm looking for. I feel like this was like, it was very large, and it didn't even really feel like if I hadn't seen a trailer previously for the game, if I just went into this completely blind, I would have no idea that like I was gonna jump down into Hyrule. And because this was so large, I could have thought that like more was going to be unlocked around me. It just seemed like there was so much to do. But yeah, I hit the 3 shrines. I hit the 4th one. You unlock your different arm abilities. It's pretty cool. Loved it.
I agree, and I think they did a really good job of not only introducing the abilities like they did in Breath of the Wild, where you acquire the abilities, you have a whole shrine about teaching you how to do it. There's also a lot outside, like the rail system, building,
oh yeah,
all that kind of stuff. It's very like organically integrated into the environment, even outside of the shrines. It's supposed to teach you about it. So it's all about like play and experimentation, and that was awesome. I love that.
the just I felt very like just wowed by this game. I was very wowed by the abilities that you could just freaking design whatever the heck you wanted. It's expansive, and I was wowed very early on. As soon as we got into this tutorial section, you start making whatever the heck you want, and like, it could have been very bare bones, but you can tell why this took so long to develop as you're playing this, as you're designing a car in whatever shape you want to freaking make it in. Like, it's very clear why this is such a thorough game that took 7 years or whatever, 6 years.
Yeah, I agree. It's because it incorporates all of the stuff, or most of the stuff, from Breath of the Wild, but then adds just so much more. It's like, it felt like a natural progression, going from like the magnesis ability where you can pick up only metal things with your arm, and then being able to pick up anything, and then also fuse those things together.
It literally blew open, Breath of the Wild, honestly.
But yeah.
So yeah, I guess after you finally do get to go into the Hyrule itself, I found something out about 20 hours in, but I don't know. You can tell me if you had the same experience or wherever you decided to go, but I started out going southwest. I explored, I avoided temples for like 10, 15 hours until I got tired of being this weak little boy. Hit up shrines, and I went underground. I spotted a Gleeok. I think it was the electric one, and I was like, nope, not even messing with that thing.
Not today.
I hit some stables for sure, and finally found my way to Gerudo Village. And I think this was the first time in my life where I realized that I had been pronouncing Gerudo wrong. I've always said Gerudo, but one of these voice actors said Gerudo. So yeah.
No.
I've been playing since
like
Ocarina of Time back in the day, and I've always said Gerudo.
It's like, sounds like gerbil, man. Come on.
I am sure I'm not the only one.
You're probably right.
I mean, do you want to know what temple order I went in?
Yeah, you can go ahead and explain that. I think it makes a difference when you're playing the game as a whole.
I thought that we'll get into the characters and the side homies, but the Lightning Temple felt like a really good place to start, like looking back at it, but that's the one I did first, and I felt really powerful going and fighting enemies like from there forth. The power that you get from the Lightning Temple was very cool, and it was just very powerful, and I used the heck out of it the entire game.
Interesting.
But yeah, I did lightning, and then I did fire. I did the wind, and then I finished with the water temple.
Wow. We are so opposite. Well, you finished the spirit temple. Okay, I watched you do that one.
Yeah.
But wow, we are like the exact opposite. That's so crazy.
Interesting.
So after I got off the island, the first thing you do is you go to like the settlement outside of Hyrule Castle, and then it's like, okay, go to Hyrule Castle. And I was like, no, I don't want to go to Hyrule Castle yet. I'm going to go, what is it, northwest? So I went northwest, and I found my first shrine after getting down. And it was a shrine that you needed the paraglider, the parasailer, to have, and I didn't have that. So I was like, wow, I really can't beat the shrine.
Oh
that
my gosh.
sucks.
Where do you get the paraglider?
From Hyrule Castle.
Oh,
from
okay.
Captain Haas. I believe that's correct. So then I was like, okay, that sucks. I'll just exit out, whatever. And then I went down the chasm that's like right next to that shrine, and I was absolutely freaking terrified. I did not realize that it was going to be pitch black down there.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you fall down the chasms, you fall down to like a zonai, like equipment little settlement, or like sometimes there's like a fire down there, or sometimes there's some kind of light source somewhere. This one had nada. And I was running around, and I didn't have any bright stones. I had nothing. Or the little seeds, the little bright seeds. I had nothing. So I was like, what on earth am I supposed to do down here? And the music was all scary, and I could see like things flying around, like in the very, very distance. And I was like, you know what? This is not for me. So I went back to the settlement, and then I decided not to go that way at all because I was too darn scared. And so I went east and then northeast. So, and it's so funny. This is the exact same path that I followed in Breath of the Wild, but I didn't do it like consciously. It wasn't like, okay, I'm going to go here first. I just kind of explored around.
Interesting.
And then I just found myself in the Zora encampment. And I was like, okay, you know what? Fine, I'll do that one first. And let me tell you, the water temple has redeemed all water temples for the whole Zelda series. Because you could just, like, it's not zero gravity because you come back down, but, like, you're floating up there. And that shit was so fun.
Dude, I loved it. It was stupid easy, but I loved it.
Cool. You were just, like, floating around everywhere from island, little island. And it was so much damn fun. And then just the way that you get there is by, like, going down the whirlpool and then going up the waterfall. That shit was awesome. I love water temples now. It's redeemed Ocarina of Time water temple. Can we say that?
You know, there was definitely a point where I was like, are we going to the sky or not? Because this under the whirlpool nonsense feels like a whole temple down here. Yep. But yeah, it was very cool.
Loved that. And then the fact that the first time you get to Zora's domain, it's all super rainy because the what's the elephant divine beast called? Valmedo? No, that's the flying one. Varuta, Varudania, Valmedo, and Valnaboris are the four. I can't remember. Whatever the elephant one is, it's like going crazy, and then Zora's domain is like completely wet, so you like can't climb in on anything. I'll do that stuff, and then they transformed it. This one is that there's some like muckety muck coming from the Sky Island, and then it's kind of coming down from that domain and making it all like super muddy and super dangerous to be a fish in like muddy water. That was fun, like that.
Did it remind you of any other game? The next
one. If you're gonna say Super Mario Sunshine, you're cleaning up the muckety muck off that beach. It is so much better than that.
Oh, there's no question about that.
Close. Not even close. It's so much better.
That's funny.
But yeah, that was fun. And then the next thing I did is I went to the Rito village, and I did that one. That one was fun. But I seriously think the water temple was my favorite. That was just at least the most memorable to me. And then I went to Gerudo, took care of the lightning. Riju's power was a power I used the least, interesting enough. That one was so slow, it just drove me crazy.
It's very slow.
Then I finished with the Goron of the four, and then I did the Spirit Temple after. Like, way, way, way after. But yeah, it's the same order that I followed when I was playing Breath of the Wild. It was crazy. And it wasn't intentional. It's like, okay, well, I might as well go here now, because I'm close to it.
I mean, could you have done the Spirit Temple before finishing the other four?
Yeah. I'm sure you could.
Interesting.
But yeah, my favorite... The Spirit Temple was cool, too. That one was fun. It was a little reminiscent of the bosses from Breath of the Wild's shrines. Or not shrines, the Divine Beasts, where it's just, like, a bunch of random technology joined by malice, which is exactly what it was. So it was taken over Zonite tech. That was the only thing that I was like, okay, I see in the story why it makes sense, but it's like, it's kind of similar to Breath of the Wild. That didn't bother me that much, though. It's just worth mentioning. Also going down the freaking middle of Death Mountain. That was awesome, because before it was, like, fiery and you couldn't get close because you'd, like, burn up and die.
Oh,
There's magma and lava running everywhere. This way you could just go straight down the middle. That one was cool. Liked that a lot. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. And then, of course, I did, like, all the shrines and Korok seeds and horse stables and all that kind of stuff as I was traveling around. The one thing I noticed when I was playing the game, though, is I did not stay in, like, one area for too long. Because it was like, oh, there was this really cool something over here in this part. And I was like, okay, let's go over there. And then I get sidetracked because, like, this person needs something, and then it's like, oh, but I see a shrine over there. Oh, I see a tower over there. So I was like, if you look at my hero's path, which is one of the things on the pad that you can get, like, my person is all over the place. And then, like, a piece of rubble would fall down. I'd be like, okay, I guess I'm going to the sky now. I went everywhere. It was so, I don't know. It was just, the game made me want to go to every place at once and, like, be there and just get the story and get what they were trying to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it makes you literally never want to turn the game off. It's pretty addicting.
That was awesome. Yeah, and then, let's see. When I was going up Mount Naneru, which is the big icy mountain.
Oh, yeah.
That was the first time that I encountered the freaking scary gloomy hands, and I had no idea what was happening. I just thought it was like a blood moon, and then I heard things screaming at me, but I knew it wasn't the blood moon because it wasn't midnight. It was like 3 a.m., and I was like, okay, what kind of heinous shit is going to happen to me now? On a blood moon, what's going to come popping out? And then the hands start crawling all over me, and I was like, this is so scary. I don't want any part of this. So I ran away real quick. But the funny thing about that, though, I don't know this for a fact, but I think those can be random, but there's also places in the environment where they're supposed to stick out. Like, where they're supposed to come at you. It doesn't matter what time.
Interesting.
So I was always scared, like, going to a new place. Because you could see the save down there in the left corner, and you're like, okay, something's going to happen. In Breath of the Wild, that meant there's obviously, like, an enemy encampment somewhere, and I just can't see it yet. Or there's a Lionel. Which, you know, once you're far enough into the game to have enough hearts, it's not so scary. But in the beginning, it is scary.
Yeah.
But there were times and I was like, I can't see anything. There's nothing around me. There's no enemies. What is going to happen? And then you walk to like a certain point and it triggers their hands and you're like, oh, I don't want any of this. I'm running away.
I'm pretty sure that the way the game like wanted you to go was northwest first. And I could say that with pretty good confidence because there are several story missions that you learn about very early on in the game. Including Impa taking you onto the little balloon ride and you go explore the glyphs for the first time or whatever she tells you about them. I literally went 20 hours into this game or something, maybe 25, and I like went up to a glyph, found this puddle, and clicked on it without ever even talking to Impa. And I was like, oh, maybe I should go check out the middle of the map again and see what's going on with this. And when I went northwest, it wasn't just Impa. There was like multiple things. You know, you learn about the statues underground. They're pointing to each other. Mm-hmm. And I just felt like I wasn't upset, but I was like, you know, I kind of wish I would have done this, you know, the way it was meant to be done first. But yeah, it was like as soon as I hit Hyrule and I guess talked to a few people, I just went off on my own and did my own thing.
Huh. That is interesting. I mean, of course, there's no right way or wrong way to play it, right? That's one of those games where it could be played in any order. But yeah, there are definitely some ways that are easier than others. Yeah, I don't know. And then let's see what else happened. What was the first time I fell down the depths? First saw the other things, the freaky scary hand things. Yeah, I don't know. The fact that you can just do anything in any order, I think is so cool. And then how many times did you, like, when you were exploring, did you, like, stay in Hyrule and do this, and this? Or did you jump from, like, depths to sky, Hyrule, depths, sky?
Well, as we discussed, I did, what did I have, like 21 of the underground freaking light routes. I guess we need to talk about it a bit. I was not a big fan of the underground. It just felt very repetitive to me. It was like, run to this spot, light it up, run to this spot, light it up, and I was never... It just felt like a chore. Every time I went down there, it felt like a complete chore. Now, I will say that the atmosphere, everything about it was so freaking cool. The fact that it's pitch black down there and that you have to light it up is so freaking cool. But it always felt like a chore to me. But to answer your question... I spent most of my time on Hyrule on the ground level, and then, you know, as I got further into the game and I started to up my stamina, I felt like I could actually go to a tower, launch up to the sky, and make it to some of these further islands, and so I would start exploring those.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I really did not. I probably spent. No, I'm not going to put a number on it. I didn't. I did not go to the depths a whole lot.
That's interesting that you say that, though, because obviously the developers knew that the depths would not be everyone's favorite part. Like, they probably thought that either the sky or Hyrule would be their favorite and then the depths would be last. But it actually pushes you, like, if you go to the sky and you travel around to all those islands and stuff, you get, like, chests. There's, like, chests hanging off the islands or whatnot, or, like, chest hidden in this thing, or you have to, like, clip into the wall for this one. And it marks an X on your map in the depths, so you
Oh
can
yeah,
like explore that, and it's usually like a costume item. I don't know if you experienced that, but it's
yeah.
like a legacy costume item. So it's like uh it's not what's like the sky of, or the tunic of the sky, or like tunic of the winds, or like the hero's tunic, or like it gives you a bunch of outfits that were obviously in Breath of the Wild, but like this is a way to get you motivated to kind of explore the depths
Oh, that's
after you've
interesting.
explored like the most exciting part of the sky. So I think that was really fun. Um, so yeah, I think Hyrule. I definitely spent the most time just on ground level Hyrule. Then the sky, definitely the depths. When you were exploring though, how often did you use like the Zonai tech, if at all?
The Zonai Tech. Oh, the little. I see the little orbs.
Well, that and like the wings and like the wheels, and like how often did you build things?
I just was not the guy that was out there building these crazy things. And you stayed off of social media for a long time. You missed probably some hilarious
Yes.
stuff. But, like, aside from not being the guy that's out here building these crazy things, I also wasn't the guy that was just building a whole lot of vehicles. Like, I
Yeah.
appreciate it. And when I needed it, it was there for me. But anytime, there's a reason my Koroks were so low. Anytime one of these little fools was like, please take me to my friend, I was like, I'm either carrying you or I'm not taking you at all, because I'm not about to build a freaking vehicle for 5 minutes just to take you across this. It's just like a hassle to me, which I didn't even realize until like late in the game. I was like, wow, I have not been building as much as everyone else seems to be. But what about you?
I I'm somewhere in the middle. I didn't like build super complicated things or any stuff like that. Like I did not use the orbs very much at all in this. I wanted to get somewhere and I really 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 wanted to get there.
Yeah.
But I think I did they did a really good job of just leaving building items everywhere. Like if they knew you were going to come to this point in like a river or like a lake or something, you were going to want to build. So they'd put a fan there, they'd put a controller there, they'd put the wood or like the metal stuff for you to build on. That was really awesome. I utilized that maybe about 50% of the time. If I thought I could like fly or swim over the lake, I was definitely going to do that instead of building. Um, the only times I really used a lot of the tech when I was trying to get to the Sky Islands, because obviously I didn't have a lot of stamina, but I could supplement what I didn't have with stamina with the batteries.
Oh
Is that
yeah.
what they're called? The Zonai battery charges, so I could supplement those. I could like rocket myself up, and then if I got so high, then I could use my paraglider to, surf over there. I didn't use it as much as the game probably would have wanted me to, um, but I used it a fair amount. I think my favorite one was definitely the wings because I just thought it was so cool to glide around
Why did it have to expire
in the
after
sky.
so long?
I was just going to say that the fact that they expire really freaking bothered me.
What's the
It
point of
would be
having the
different if
batteries?
I had an unlimited amount of like the things that you need to go in like the vending machine or like the gumball machine or whatever. If there was an unlimited amount of those, it wouldn't have been such a big deal. But the fact that I had a limited amount that I had to go and kill enemies to get, and then maybe or maybe not get what I wanted is like a lottery system. And then they fucking expire. I was like, that is crazy. I hate that. But I mean, I guess it makes sense after a while because they want you to kind of like explore and like be different and whatnot. And it would just like totally break the game if they didn't expire and you had like all of these things. But at the same time, it's like, at least give me double the time. You know?
It was
I
never
hated
long
that.
enough,
That was another
honestly.
thing.
Yeah. Like, I first experienced it on the little tutorial area.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, my ass was gliding in the air. And I was like, no! I'm halfway to this island and it's like beeping at me and I was like, what does that mean? Is it gonna explode? Am I gonna die? Yeah, I hated that. Absolutely hated that. But I thought building things was fun. That's funny. My like go-to for building things was just one hella long bridge. Like with freaking 5 pieces of planks like fused together and then I would just walk across the lake with that. That was like my go-to very, very early on in the game. I was like, I'll just build a really big bridge and it'll be fine. And those don't expire.
The
But yeah.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that the underground is like what people were gonna like the least. I don't
What?
know. I was listening to this podcast, Retro Warriors. These guys are like, he pointed something out to me that I didn't realize, but that the underground was never like formally introduced before the launch of the game. There was no trailer preparing you for the absolute like massiveness that was the underground, um, which I think is very interesting because it's it would have been such a large draw to the game. I feel like, um, not that it needed it, right? This game's been hyped for like almost a decade now, and it's like people have been, we're gonna buy this game no matter what. But I think that it's very interesting that they chose not to market it and show it to everyone. But yeah, this guy on this podcast was saying that this is his favorite part of the game. He doesn't want to go anywhere else. He just loves exploring the depths, and I don't know. Obviously, not my experience, but I think a lot of people love it a lot more than I do.
The depths were shown off in some of the trailers, but you really couldn't tell like that's what it was unless like of course I watched a lot of 3D videos and stuff, and so people were theorizing that ahead of time, but he was right about it not being marketed at all.
Mm.
I think we knew about like the caves, which I guess is another thing of Hyrule. There's Hyrule, which is like the surface level, and then there's caves that go underground and like mountains and rivers and whatnot. And then there's the sky, and then there's the depths, which is like far, far, far below. So I think people knew about like the sky and then Hyrule and then the caves, but no, they didn't really say anything about the depths. But I mean, the depths are really cool. It took me a while to kind of warm up to them because when you're first down there and it's pitch black, you're like, I don't want to be here at all. There's like things flying at me. There's like red, scary enemies. Every time they hit me, I lose a heart, which I think is a cool mechanic.
Yeah.
But it was like when I have 6 hearts, I can't afford to lose any. And I don't know how to combat that. But I like that the light roots like were used to light up everything. I know there's definitely a theory out there about because every light root corresponds to a shrine, and they're like right on top of each other. The depths like mirror Hyrule, the topography of Hyrule, which I think is freaking genius. So anywhere there's water, you can't go. Liked that. That was cool. That was another way to like help you navigate. So if you knew you're like, wow, I'm climbing up this wall and I can't see like at the top. If there's water there on Hyrule, then obviously you can't get up. I liked that. That was really helpful. And then just to be able to like change between the different maps. So I could be in the depths, but then be looking at the map of Hyrule.
Yeah.
Loved that. And the depths were really cool once you kind of started to explore and had more things lit up. Like a lot of the temples or the shrines, or the temples, not the shrines. The temples were down there. There was also the abandoned mines, which means there's this like whole other civilization down there at some point. Obviously the Zonai were down there, but like, did they live down there or did they just like work down there to mine the ore and turn it into charges? I don't know. I'm definitely going to be diving more into the lore. I wish I had watched more videos for this, but definitely going to be diving into the lore. Also, did you use the Zonai charges at all?
Is that the orbs that you put into the vending machine?
No, that was like the construct weapons or whatever, but it's like the actual charges that if you use them, it's like equivalent to eating food or whatever. Like it charges not your hearts, but like the battery. So the more you eat, the more battery you have.
I feel like we're talking about the same thing.
Not eat, but use.
No, I don't think I used any on myself. To answer your question,
I didn't. Yeah. It's like expanding, like when you eat a potion or whatever, it like expands your the capability of your what is it called, stamina. So like you get like an extra little thing of stamina that if you use those charges, you get extra battery life. I didn't use those at all.
Yeah, no.
In fact, I was kind of confused with like the Zonai Tech at first. I was like, is that what I'm supposed to use to expand my battery? But then it's like only a temporary expansion. And then after like I got to a few of the underground mines, then I finally understood that the ore you turned into the crystals and then the crystals turned into the battery. It took a while to understand though. They didn't explain it very well.
Yeah, there's just a lot of like quote unquote currency to buy a lot of different things in this game.
Yeah, so on top of Breath of the Wild's hearts and stamina, there's also the battery, and then yeah, all that kind of stuff. It was definitely a lot at the very beginning, I think.
And so
I kind of understood like halfway through.
Having not explored a ton of the underground, I didn't have a lot of batteries. So by the end of the game, I didn't even have 2 full batteries, which is insane. But
oh my gosh!
But like it never really was an inconvenience until the Shadow Temple. When I was walking around as this freaking mech suit, I just
and you had to keep stopping.
Yeah, I just freaking let her follow me. I was like, all right, Minoru, just you come with me. I'm not freaking doing this anymore. But thankfully in the boss fight, it didn't use your batteries. It just let you fight until the end. But
yeah, that was nice.
Yeah.
I can't believe you only had 2 batteries.
I can't believe
I can't believe it. Never mind.
I can't believe that it wasn't a major inconvenience for me throughout the entire game.
Well, you didn't really build that much, so you never really needed it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
That's funny, because I thought that you could, I mean, you can max it out, obviously, there is an end, but I thought that once you get, I think it's 6 batteries, that would be it, but then you can actually go more than that. So it's green originally, and then once you collect enough to, like, trace back over, it starts to turn blue.
Oh, that's cool.
So it was like, oh my, how many layers of this is there? So that was cool. Let's see. Do I have any other questions to ask you about what you did? I don't think so. I think we answered them all.
We have talked about...
Actually, we can talk about this later when we get to the boss. But, yeah. Who... You said Riju was your favorite partner?
Yes.
You used her the most. Very interesting.
And what about you?
I think I used her the least. I used Tulin the most, because I was always like up in the sky and needed that like extra boost. I used that so many times. And then I think Yunobo was 2nd, Sidon 3rd, Minru 4th, and then Riju 5th.
I suppose the Bird Boy would have definitely been number 1, like if you were to like, I don't know, check the stats. But I guess in terms of like homies that can do damage, definitely my Riju girl, she was always on point. I don't know, I really love shooting arrows. It's definitely one of my favorite parts.
I agree. The arrow shooting, it feels good because it's like real life. Like there's an arch to it. You have to aim like higher up than your target if you're aiming from far away. It feels like real world, so it makes sense,
I've been preparing since Link's combat training about 15 years ago, so.
Heck yeah, we need our own game. Our own mini game or whatever, with just combat training. Just archery.
Much like Splatoon, how I think we both like to use motion controls. Is that correct?
Heck yeah.
So that was like a big help in Zelda as well. And the few times that I would play handheld on my new OLED Switch, I was using the Hori SplitPad Pro, and it doesn't have motion. And that's when I really started to like notice like what a nuisance it is to not have motion when you're shooting arrows. It is a big help.
I agree, because you get it like in the air, like the general area, and then you just tweak it a little bit by motion controls.
Right.
It's awesome. I love that. Yeah, agreed.
Let's talk about labyrinths. Okay. Did you do any labyrinths?
Yeah, dog, I did them all.
Okay, how many are there?
Those were fun as shit too. 3. There's 3 total.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask questions because I only did 1. So do they all have you start out like in the sky and then you go down to the depths?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the one I did was like southwest past Gerudo, I think. I totally came upon it not knowing what the heck it was, this giant square in the sky, and I think there's a shrine out front, and it's like, oh, what the heck's going on here? But yeah, it was pretty cool. It was almost like a little mini dungeon, and no enemies or anything in the one I went to, but pretty straightforward. But going down into the depths, I thought I was done, and then they take you to the depths, and it's like, oh, holy crap, there's this giant dude I gotta take down. That's pretty cool. Yeah, like diving straight down from all the way from the sky through to the depths was very satisfying. It was very cool.
I agree. And actually, let me correct the record here. You start off on ground level, then you go to the sky, then you dive to the depths.
What do you do on ground level? Oh, I remember.
At the beginning, you find it's like this guy who dropped like acorns or whatever, and you have to follow that until you get there, and it's like, oh, hey, meet me up in the sky, y'all, and I got a surprise for you. And then you do that, and then you fly around, and then you go down to the depths, beat the guy, and then you get the piece of Phantom Ganon's armor. Phantom Ganon's armor.
Oh, that's why there's 3 labyrinths. That makes sense.
Is it Phantom Ganon? It's Ocarina of Time Ganon, where he's got like the horns and like the cape.
Yeah, I only got the headpiece, and it looked freaking cool.
The whole outfit is pretty darn cool. But yeah, the fact that it's like 3 different layers I think is really cool. And then just the fact that you're just like infinitely flying around and floating around in the labyrinths, and it's like actually a maze. Yeah. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Because in the first game, it's like there's, I don't know about all of them, I can't remember, but there's like guardians running around, and it actually is a maze, but it's like not that hard. But now there's 3 different parts, which I think is cool.
I also wanted to mention that it was really awesome that the temples were not just all on ground level, and that the water temple was up high, and the spirit and the fire were underground. I loved that.
Yeah, it was different.
Yeah.
It wasn't all just like the same thing. They weren't all in the sky. You weren't all floating around for all of them. You weren't all burning up for all of them, obviously. The cart system in the fire temple, though, made that my least favorite. I hated that. I liked the fact that you could ride around in carts, and that was fun, but I was so damn confused.
I think every single person that played this game would agree that that was the least favorite of the temples for that exact reason. I'm pretty sure everyone started climbing places. I could not take it anymore. I was like...
Dude! Oh, that's so funny. I was climbing everywhere, and the fact that you couldn't do that bothered me so bad. Because if you climbed somewhere and it wasn't like the next in the sequence that you're supposed to go, you'd have to go back, and then you'd get confused and like, okay, now where was I? It's like, I hated it.
Screw that temple.
And then of course if you fell off, you freaking died.
Yeah.
There's magma everywhere. Yeah, that was definitely my least favorite.
I think all the boss fights were pretty solid.
Yeah.
For those 4 temples. But yeah, we are kind of going all over the place here. What else do we want to talk about? There was Laurelin Village. I thought that was really freaking cool, the way that you had to go and clear out all the enemies, and then you had to help out with sticking a tree trunk through every single building in the town. Mm-hmm. Which got a little repetitive, cool. But yeah, the fact that you had to go pick up a bunch of Hylian rice and something else to get it going, it was very cool. It was a nice little probably a side adventure if I had to guess.
It was probably, let's see, yeah, it was probably a side adventure. It was very similar to Tarrytown in Breath of the Wild, where you have to recruit a bunch of people and then they slowly build up that town. With more people, and then you could go there and buy things and blah blah blah. It's like it is in Tears of the Kingdom, but you actually are building it up the first time. Lorelin was fun because you got a bunch of free stuff. Yeah, that was the best part. You could keep going back and getting free meals, playing the game. You could sleep there for free. That was cool. I like that.
One thing we didn't write down was the this might have been in the other game, Breath of the Wild, but just like other towns or whatever that had like enemies with that giant health bar on the top of the screen. Was that in Breath of the Wild?
Giant health bar
I'm
on top of the
sorry,
screen.
that
What are you
wasn't
talking
very
about?
descriptive. Just like there's an army, can go kill everyone, and then here's the reward.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
okay.
No. That wasn't in Breath of the Wild. That was new.
I like that a lot. I always had a blast with that.
The enemy forces camps, yeah, those were
Right.
cool. And the pirate ships were new too.
Oh,
Before
those
it
were
was just kind
cool.
of like encampments, but the pirate ships were new. That was fun.
Hmm.
Mhm. What else we got?
Anything else for level design?
Um well, I guess we should talk about like different ways to traverse. Cuz in Breath of the Wild there was the paragliding, which everyone used obviously all the time. There was climbing, and that was kind of it, I feel like. Because you couldn't build anything, you weren't shot up into the sky, none of that kind of stuff. But in this game, there's towers that shoot you up in the air, so that's an opportunity for you to, one, travel long distances on the ground, or two, just to get to the sky islands if they're close enough. Then there was also when islands drop from the sky, you can use the, what is
Rewind or
that
whatever.
ability called? Yeah. Rewind, and you can shoot it back up to the sky, so that gets you back up into the sky. It's like reverse power, whatever. And then a unique thing that they had before in Breath of the Wild, if you come upon a cliff and it's just like a sheer cliff, there's like no like little cliffs, like little spots for you to like stop and rest. So you either have to have a shiz ton of stamina to get up there or have a bunch of potions, and that was it.
Yeah.
But now when the Sky Island started to fall down, there was like little areas that were kind of jutting out of the cliffs. You could sit there and wait, catch up your stamina. That was cool. And they're all like really blocky and stuff, so it's like really easy. Then you can also use the ascend power, which you go through different blocks. I use that all the time.
Dude, Ascend is
Anytime
such
I
a
could,
cool
I did.
idea.
I agree. Loved that.
Like,
And then there's obviously like the Zonai tech.
oh, for sure. Yeah, Ascending was
Yeah, go
like,
ahead.
I don't know if this is true, but this is what my roommate told me that he like read online, but like the way that this came about was that one of the developers was like playtesting the game, and he's like in a cave or something, and he's like, man, I'm really so sick of like having to leave a cave, the way I came out, and you know go through everything that I just went through. Like, I wish I could just exit. And so he like coded it in for himself, and then proposed it as like something to be in the actual game. I don't know if that's true, but regardless, I think it's super cool. Like, I've never thought to do something like that. I've never thought like, wow, it would be so cool if I could just warp through the freaking ceiling. Uh and it makes no sense, and I freaking love it. I use the heck out of it as well.
Yeah, and it's the funny that I think that story is true, by the way. And I think that's one of the things that kind of took them a long time to develop, because even when you're using the power, it'll show red if you can't clip through it, meaning there's A, something above you that you can't clip through, or B, like the terrain is too slotted or like slanted so you can't
Mm-hmm.
pop out there. But I think they integrated it really, really well into the cave. So whatever the idea that this guy had, they implemented it exactly like that. Because there are caves where you reach the end and it's like an obvious space for you to use the ascent, and you just use it and you're just boom,
Yeah.
pop that right there. And they even incorporated it super duper well. There's like a tower you have to use. You have to go underground and then
Yeah.
pop back up into the tower because the door's broken, whatever. Perfect integration of that. I used it so many times, even on the Sky Islands. If things were like lined up perfectly, it'd be like, hell yeah, I don't want to freaking go up in the air again. I'm just gonna, cut through these rocks. Love that.
Not to skip too far ahead into this, but there was a point where I was really trying to get the freaking Master Sword like a couple nights ago, and I was like, man, this dragon is so high up, and I got up to like, there's like this spirally freaking island up in the sky, and I'm like, how in God's name am I supposed to get up here? I started using the Zonai tech. I started putting these little spears into each other, and I stood on them, and then I used the Ascend. Oh, I felt like I broke the freaking game, dude. I was like, they did not want me to do it this way.
Hey, but it worked. And that's the
Absolutely.
best part.
Yeah, that was
The
the
fact
whole
that you
game
could
right
do
there.
something that you think was game breaking. Yeah, exactly. Even when I was in shrines, like
Especially
I
in
knew what
shrines.
it wanted me to do. I knew what it wanted me to do, and I was like, well, why do I do that when I can just do this? Like I used the what is it when the reverse power where you stop it? Recall. It's called recall.
Mm.
Where I use that so many times. Like if they wanted me to jump from like one platform to the other, but they wanted me to like balance this shit here or whatever, I would just pick something up, and then hold it in one place, and then slowly move it across the area, and then so I could jump off to the other
Right.
side, and then slowly move it back, and then I would just jump on it, use the ascend or use the recall, and just it would just carry me over there. And I was like, that's definitely not the way they wanted me to use it, but I'm gonna do that.
There were
Love that.
I
I
remember
think that's part of a good game.
yeah. Yeah, I love it. I remember several shrines in Breath of the Wild just like having me stumped to the point where I was just like not sure what to do and I would end up leaving. I never had to do that in this game. And I don't know if that honestly it's probably because of the tools that are given to us. It probably just the way that you can break it makes it so much easier, I think. Um, you're not limited to doing it one specific way anymore.
I think it's really smart because a lot of people, I am blessed by being, I think, I'm just going to toot my own horn here, being like really good with puzzles. But
Yeah.
some people just aren't. Their brain just doesn't think that way. So the fact that they have all of these extra tools at their disposal to complete it however their brain cooks up a way to do it, I think that is so cool.
Yeah, no complaints from me.
Heck yeah. Let's see, what else do we got?
Do we want to talk about?
I did write down the new abilities. Just if you wanted to explain them. Oh, also, did you use auto build at all?
I did not unlock it.
Oh, wow.
I think
Well,
that. Well,
had
hang
you
on.
have had auto build, would you have used it?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I think I would have built way more. You asked me if I was building a lot. I think my answer would have been different if I didn't have to build the same crap several times. I've witnessed my roommate, use it, and it just looks so cool. First of all, it's a huge relief not having to build something, but also it looks very cool. I love watching it build itself.
Yeah, that is neato. The only thing I didn't like about auto build is that it uses your ores, the ores that you
Oh,
collect.
really?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm pretty sure I did not use it that often because I didn't build that often. But yeah, I was more interested in getting a bigger battery than like auto building something.
Interesting.
But yeah, that was a cool one. I think they kind of had to have that one, honestly. The people like us are like, I'm not gonna sit here and build all this stuff.
What other abilities? So you wrote down all the new abilities you said. Did you want to talk about those?
Yeah, so they're just different than the ones in Breath of the Wild. But how did you feel about the skill called Ultra Hand, which is like where you pick up stuff, being called Ultra Hand? I mean, we did a whole
Yes,
spot of a podcast about this thing called Ultra Hand.
I don't think anyone else got that. I mean, obviously I'm exaggerating, but I was like, I literally told my roommate, I was like, dude, that's a toy that Nintendo made in like the 50s. Yeah, that's super cool.
Oh, heck yeah. They could have literally called it anything, but they just decided to call it Ultra Hand. It's like awesome. It's awesome.
I love it.
So we talked about it a little bit. There's Ascend, which is where you can go through the rocks. There's Ultra Hand, which is basically picking anything up and doing whatever you want. Recall, where you like reverse time. Fuse, where you can put all the items together, which we should definitely talk about the fuse thing because it's awesome. And then auto build.
Yeah, we have totally skipped over fusing, but it's a must-have. I mean, it's a big part of it. I don't even know where to begin. I mean, I fused the heck out of my... I guess, okay. I fused the heck out of my weapons. I never really did much with the shields except to put like a rocket on there and then soar to the sky when I needed to. But yeah, like trying things out, it is a very fun thing, mechanic for sure. Like You can stick a mushroom on a sword and make people fly away. You can stick a laser beam on a sword. You can stick a shield on a sword.
Yeah.
It's limitless possibilities. And like I am nowhere near done exploring what all I could attach to my freaking weapon, and it's so awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I also didn't really fuse anything to the shields, because the whole thing with the fusing mechanic for the swords is because of Ganon's malice or his gloom, all the swords in the world are like weak. So if you use them so many times, they're gonna break even easier than they did in Breath of the Wild. So you have to fuse it so it's stronger, it's got like higher hit points, blah blah blah, it's got more durability, whatever the thing is. But I thought it was so cool to customize all of your weapons.
Yeah.
And obviously some things worked better with some weapons than others. Like obviously you're going to want something that's like long, pointy, and sticky if you're going to use like a staff or any kind of spear, not a staff, a spear, anything like that. Or obviously you're going to want something that's more shaped like a blade or like curved like a blade for like just regular old swords. The combinations that you can make with that are crazy. And I really, really liked the fact that if you found something that was better that you wanted to fuse with a weapon, it wasn't permanently fused. So you could destroy the fused item that was on the weapon, and then you could fuse with something else. I really, really like that one.
I did not discover that until way later in the game, and it was actually thanks to one of the loading screen hints that I learned about it.
Heck yeah, those are helpful, right? But yeah, the fuse is obviously how you build everything. That's like the ability. It's like green putty or whatever you want to call it. But maybe we should talk about this at the end, but I loved it for this game. I don't know if I want to see it return.
Interesting.
Does that make sense? Like,
I mean, you can talk about it now.
I liked the weapon breaking mechanic. I think it made sense for Breath of the Wild, and I like that they improved upon it in Tears of the Kingdom. But I don't necessarily think that needs to continue on to the next game. Does that make sense? I don't know. Maybe that's a hot take, but like some of the things that they're bringing in these games, I don't know if I want to see it again. Because like, how much better could they make it?
No.
Like, you're already fusing anything you could possibly imagine together.
Yeah, I mean, if it was brought to another game, it would have to it would be a 1-for-1 copy and paste. It can't get any better than what we already have.
So without it feeling super like Minecrafty or like all those other kind of crafting games, like I like that you don't need it. I don't want to be in a Hyrule where I do need it. Does that make sense?
No.
Like, I don't want to have to use it if I don't want to. You know, like, it was really good being supplemental here. Mm-hmm. Like, I didn't need to build up to get to the islands. I didn't need to fuse things together like you. Like, you didn't do a lot of that kind of stuff.
I see.
I don't want it to feel more like a different genre of game than like a Zelda game.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Because I think we're kind of towing that line anyway with building stuff. It seems kind of like someone... Had I not read this headline, if I just stayed off the internet like I said I was going to, one of the reviews said it was like Breath of the Wild plus Minecraft, and that was like an immediate turnoff. I was like, no, that's not what I want to hear. I don't want my Zelda games turning into Minecraft. So I think maybe that's just in my mind. But like, I don't know. Maybe that's a hot take.
Have you gone back and looked at some of the things people have made now that you're like on the internet again?
Yeah, someone made like a sports car or something that I saw. They used like the carts and like the sleds to make like the contours like an actual car. That one was cool. And then I just saw someone that made, I think it was like a 1-bit clock or something, or something along those lines. It was like an accurate clock. That was cool.
Wow.
Just the things that people are making is crazy. I'm not that creative. I will never be that creative. Good for that person for doing it. But yeah.
I'll have to send you some of my favorites.
Dude, heck yeah. I did see one where they fused a bunch of the Koroks with the little backpacks that I need to reach my friend all together in like one giant line. There's like 15 of them all attached together. That was funny. Also, you can throw those guys around like they're little ragdolls.
Yeah, they don't
Not
take
that I
any
would,
damage.
Of course, but like you can just like drop them off a cliff or like float them in the water and they're totally fine. They always land on their backpack, but it's like, shoot. Poor guys. Like, I'm trying to help, and I accidentally drop him off a cliff. It's like, oh no! Sorry.
So, did you use your amiibo? Your plethora of amiibo?
Currently, my amiibo are all packed up in boxes, so
Ooh.
no. But I did use them in Breath of the Wild all the time.
I imagine it's the same thing, but I use the 2 Zelda ones I have pretty frequently, and I got a lot of cool armor. A lot of cool stuff that is exclusive to the underground.
Oh, well, see, I already got them from the underground, so I don't need to use my amiibo, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool. And also, another thing is, there was, like, never a shortage of weapons or, like, things that I could fuse other things with. Like, I was always fighting enough enemies and beating enough, Hinoxes or whatever with the weapons around their necks that I never needed a weapon. I always had plenty.
I love taking the weapons out of enemies, like the Gyptos. Um, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't using it because I needed weapons, that's for sure.
Heck yeah. And then, one of the other things, you probably haven't gotten to this part yet, so this might be a spoiler, but Link can build a house. I don't know if you knew that.
He can build a house?
Yeah, so in Terry Town, they're all kind of like compartmentalized, like really boxy houses. There's a plot of land that you can get if you, I don't know, talk to whoever the builders are. Terry. I don't know, one of the builders. I can't remember his name, but yeah, you get like a plot of land and you can build your own house.
How interesting.
You have, if you can fit anything within like the little roped off area, I think you can only fit 15 pieces, but you can get like a shrine, or not a shrine, the goddess statue in there so you can pray. There's cooking, there's sleeping, you can keep a horse there. All kinds of stuff. It's really cool. Oh, and also you can display, there's shield, sword, and bow kind of storage. So if you have 3 that you like that you want to get out of your inventory and just display, you can do that.
Very nice. That's cool. And him and Zelda can die old there.
Yes, definitely. It's funny because your house, well, I mean, it's never described as like your house, but you can put like your stuff in the house in Hateno Village, I believe it is. That's considered like your house in the game. And then in this game, it's Zelda's like house. So she like steals your house, dog. Or like you live there together. I don't know. But that was interesting. But Link gets a cool customizable house. So it's like Zelda can have that house. It's fine. Oh, and then another thing we didn't even talk about is the wells.
Oh yes, I meant to bring that up.
In addition to the caves, there's also wells that you can go down.
There's like something in my brain, and I'm sure yours as well. It's probably Pokemon. I'm willing to bet Pokemon has instilled something in like all of our gamer brains, but like checking off a list is something that is so satisfying to me. And so when you go to the first freaking well and you meet this woman that's like, "Hey, go tell me about every well," I'm like, "Yes, I will gladly tell you about every freaking well in this freaking game."
Yes.
But yeah, it was always exciting finding a new well to me.
And then the other thing we didn't even talk about was when you go into caves, there's like, I call them bugles, like the chips that you put on the end of your fingers and pretend they're witch's nails. The blue, glowy, frog-looking things that are in every cave.
Yeah.
There's one in every single cave. And I finally, within like the last 15 hours, after beating the game, by the way, found out what the hell those are for. I had like, I don't know, like 80 of them. I'm like, I don't even know what this currency does. But it's the
that ugly dude.
Man, I can't remember their names, but the creepy, scary looking but friendly ugly dudes who you give them to his brother, not the main one that you met in Breath of the Wild, but his brother, and he wants to turn himself into, dang it, what's the deer one? A Satori. A Satori? That's what it's called. One of them Satoris. And you have to give them all of them. It's like once you collect all of them, you give them to him. And he'll give you like outfits and like the masks and stuff, the enemy masks. If you get so many and cool items and stuff like dark clumps or whatever. But I finally figured out what that was for. And then what's another thing that's different? Oh, also the horse stables, you get like pony points now.
Oh,
so
heck
like,
yeah.
The more pony points you have, you unlock extra spots for your horse. You unlock different saddles and bridles or briddles or whatever they're called. I think it's bridle. That,
I think so.
the horse wears. There's like the royal one, there's the soldier one, there's like a creepy, spooky one or whatever. Those are cool. That was fun. It was a way to like motivate you to go to all of them. And then also the bird guy's quest where he has to write the stories. Yeah. Another way to motivate you to them.
Anytime a quest gave me like 2 points for the freaking stable, I was like, dang, that is a serious reward right there.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah, I love the point system. I didn't use the bridle a whole lot. The only time I really pulled anything on my horse was, for the, the band or whatever to get them to the fairy fountain.
Yeah.
But yeah, did you? I honestly, I did not ride a horse a whole lot. Were you a horse rider in this game?
I rode a horse a little bit. I didn't really ride a lot of horses in Breath of the Wild, which is another way to get around. I forgot about that one. Also, the motorbike for the DLC in Breath of the Wild. Forgot about that. The Master Cycle Zero. But no, I didn't really use a horse that much. There were quests where you had to go out and get a horse, and then in which I would ride the horse, because it's like, hey, you want to keep it? I was like, well, yeah, I already sat on it, of course. Then I'd ride him a little bit, but no, not really.
Yeah, I got Epona from the amiibo, and then I just like never really rode horses. I made sure to put her in the freaking stable. I had a few in the stable at all times, but I don't know, kind of a hassle to ride them, to go to the stable and get them out. It's just not worth it to me.
Yeah. Also, a cool thing is that my horses carried over from Breath of the Wild.
Oh, yeah.
So as soon as I got there, my horses were already there. And I was like, what? So my Epona was already there. My Ganondorf horse was already there. And some of the other horses that I got, which was cool. I liked that. So I didn't have to go out and tame another horse. He was already there.
Yeah, for some reason they didn't carry over from the Wii U version.
Well, that's weird. I wonder why not. I wonder. Oh, that's funny. And then I guess you kind of mentioned a little bit that the fairy fountain function was a little bit different. You didn't just give them like a certain amount of rupees, whatever. You had to get the band back together because they wanted to hear a certain kind of instrument. That was fun. And then the upgrading of the armor is very similar, except for in Breath of the Wild, I could be wrong about this, but I think in order to upgrade your armor, I think you had to have the full set before you could do it. Could be wrong about that. And I think you had to have a star fragment for every single upgrade, which took forever to get the star fragments because they only come out at night, and you have to be like the right place at the right time. So this one, it used much more item based. So it was like if you were doing one, you wanted to upgrade stealth, you needed like a what's the thing that like an Endura carrot or something, like it was related to whatever the special effect of the outfit was. You know what I'm saying? That makes sense. Instead of having a star fragment, which I really, really liked.
The star fragments were just cool. Like, I mean, I didn't catch that there was any sort of rhyme or reason to getting them. It just felt very random to me, but you're probably right about it having to be at night. That makes sense. Yeah, they fell from the sky, and if you weren't looking in like the right direction, or if it was like blocked by a mountain, then you wouldn't be able to see them. The cool thing though is I was on one of the islands, the Sky Islands, and I was like I was like on one of the highest Sky Islands, and I was diving down, and the star fragment like hit me in the sky, and I was like, what the hell is that? What else is coming at me? But it was a star fragment, and it had come from way, 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 way above the sky. Like, it didn't come from a Sky Island, which I think people just assumed that it did in Breath of the Wild. Like, oh yeah, it came from the Sky Islands. But it came down and it soared down with me. That was cool. Interesting.
That was like right place, perfect place at the perfect time. It's awesome. And then let's see. Oh, another thing I guess we didn't really talk about story-wise. How did it feel to ride on top of Zelda, the Dragon Zelda?
How did it feel? It was a very climactic scene. It was pretty neat. To tell you the truth, you know what made me feel good was having enough stamina, because it took me so freaking long to get on top of her. That was annoying.
That is really interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. It was pretty cool.
story-wise, it made me sad. I mean, she totally, like, just lost her humanity. Has been alive in the sky for 10,000
Oh,
plus
yeah.
years. I thought at the very end of the story, the Zelda developers, they like happy endings, right? But I was like, I had this weird feeling in the back of my head that they were just going to keep her as a dragon forever. And she was just going to fly around forever. And I was like, please don't let that be the ending. That is so damn sad.
Yeah.
And every time I'd see her in the sky, I'd be like, oh, there goes Zelda. It's so sad. There she goes. But that's funny because, okay, so there's one quest where you need to get a scale. I don't know if it's a scale or if it's like a shard or whatever from each of the dragons. So I was scouting out all the dragons. And by the way, the dragons are up in the sky. They're like ground level. And then those bitches also go underground, which scared the bejesus out of me.
Yeah.
Didn't know they were going to do that. So you gotta like know their path and like map it out so you can get one. So I was looking for the blue dragon, which is Nadra, I think.
Yeah.
And that was the last one that I needed, so I was like desperate. And I saw Zelda, not having realized that she was a dragon yet, and I was like, what dragon is that? I have literally never seen that dragon. It's like, what on who is that? And so I just decided to ignore it because I was like, that's not the blue dragon, obviously. I need the blue dragon so I get this quest done. And then I had coincidentally also gone to the sword memory, which shows you, I think that's the one where it shows you that Zelda actually eats it and then becomes a dragon. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong about that. And then I was like, holy shit, Zelda's the dragon. It's like, no way. So I really liked how I encountered that. Like, I wasn't spoiled on the story yet, and I was like, who on the F is that? I didn't have any problem getting up to her, though. I think I just shot myself into the sky and landed right on her.
She was always so much higher than I could shoot myself up. I don't know.
Well, her path, she went, like, into the sky, and then you could only get to her, like, from the Sky Islands, but then she also came down, like, really close to the ground, too.
You know what I heard in another podcast, I think? I think she gets lower and lower depending on how many Korok seeds you have. And you clearly have way more than me, so that makes sense.
I don't know if that's true. That could be true, but I had a lot by the time that I got her, and she was still really high up in the sky one time.
Interesting.
Like, every time I would... Because I had the quest on, and it was showing me that the Master Sword was moving, but her thing would go from, like, the Hyrule map to the sky map. Like, every so often, it would change maps, so she was still high in the sky. I don't know about the Korok seeds, though.
I went and got the Master Sword just because I felt like it. I was not even on the quest for it yet. Maybe she gets lower when you're on the quest. I don't know.
That's interesting. Or she's just on a set path. I don't know. Yeah, that was fun. I really liked how I organically figured that one out. But yeah, it made me sad. It's like, damn. She's doing everything she can, and she just, like, turned herself into a dragon.
Yeah. Yeah, story-wise, I liked it. But getting to her was pain.
I agree.
Okay.
Dungeons now?
Dungeons. Sure, let's chat. Let's talk about it.
Alright, so what did you think about the dungeons?
They were not anything crazy. Definitely, like... So, they were all pretty easy, except for the freaking fire dungeon. God, I never want to do that again. But,
right.
They were all pretty easy. Bosses were fun, for sure. None of them were, like, making me rip my hair out because I kept dying or anything. But the actual dungeon itself was kind of, like, not very challenging. A little bit time consuming at times. The wind one was kind of a nuisance because I had to keep going around and hunting for this one. Like, I don't know. They weren't my favorite part of the game, and I don't remember a whole lot about Breath of the Wild or how they made me feel 6 years ago, but I wasn't they weren't my favorite part of this game. I was pretty much ready for them to be over with when I was in them.
I I felt that way about the fire temple, but the other ones were really fun. Like I said, the water temple was really, really fun. So these dungeons, which obviously turn into the temple, they are the temples, but it's like the dungeon around it. They returned more to like a quote unquote traditional Zelda dungeon. Like the ones in Breath of the Wild it was really just like a sophisticated, a little bit bigger shrine. Like it was like really puzzly. You basically just like, I remember the one for the elephant one. God dang it, I can't remember. Anyway, the one where you like lift the trunk up and then it's like, it raises the water level, it does this, it hits this and it moves that. It was like very shriny. This one though, you have an associated partner with you, so like you use their powers in lieu of like a special item per dungeon, which I liked. And the partners kind of like followed you around. We should talk about the partners too, because I have an issue with that one.
Okay.
But yeah, I liked it. Like I said, the water temple was my favorite. I think the wind temple was the one where you like you're in the sky and you had to jump on the boats.
Yeah.
Right? The boats with the things. I like that one a lot. That one took me, I think, the longest time because I couldn't find that last trigger.
Yeah, one of them was taking me a while for sure.
And then the enemies kept popping up, and then you'd come back out and there'd be more enemies in different spots. So that one was fun. I don't know. I think they were fun. And I liked... Okay, let me say the bosses at the end were not difficult. Like, you're not going to have any problems with those. The Scorches or whatever from the other one, from Breath of the Wild, those ones were difficult. I don't know if you remember those. Those guys sucked. I hated fighting those. The enemies in these dungeons were way, way, way more unique and more entertaining and more fun. Like, I felt so rewarded when I was like, oh, I figured out how to beat this guy. Obviously, it just uses this ability, blah, 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 blah. But they were fun. Like, they were unique experiences. It wasn't, like, meant to be super beat you down into the ground hard.
Yeah, and nothing about it was hard at all, but... Yeah, I gotta commend the water temple. We already talked about it. It was a lot of fun, but it surprised me for sure. I wasn't expecting like low gravity to be involved at all. It was a blast. But the boss of the wind temple, where you had to shoot the arrows at the little icy parts of his back or whatever, like that was really cool. I had a great time with that one.
I agree. I really, really like that. And then I don't know. Obviously, you have not experienced this. But if you go down into the depths, you can actually fight, like, the bosses again.
I have,
and
yeah.
So they're, like, everywhere. Like, I fought the exact enemy that you're talking about, like, probably, like, 3 times down in the depths. Different areas of the depths, too. I think he shows up quite a bit there. But that one was so fun. Yeah. Again, you're, like, gliding, like, infinitely into the sky, flying around, dodging things. That one was fun. That was probably the most fun.
This is kind of random. Did you use the camera? Were you like a picture taker?
I love the camera. I use the camera all the time.
We should have written down our stats for that. I really tried to take a picture of everything. I was having a blast.
For the compendium? I have not ever completed the compendium, but... Yes, I like taking pictures not of like items, but like cool sequences or scenes that I think I'll never see again. Like I position myself in a certain way and there's like this thing behind it and like there's a dragon in the sky and I was like, this is a really cool picture.
Nice.
And then I would take that picture. And then there's another quest, I believe a side adventure is what it would say, but you're the goblin-y-esque guy, the one who gives you the things in Breath of the Wild if you get the bugle things in this one. He has his own like little area in Terrytown and he asks you to take a bunch of pictures of a bunch of different enemies and then one of the other guys makes a sculpture of it and then you can position those things in like this scenic area. That one's really cool.
Interesting.
That one's really fun. And then what did you think? I guess we kind of already passed the enemy part, but what did you think of the frickin', what are they called? Frogs? Those damn froggy thingies in the depths, or have you not encountered those yet?
I think I have. I gotta Google it real quick.
They're like froggy-like, and they have the ore deposits on their back. but also kind of like salamander-ish with like a really
Oh,
long
the
tail.
little guys?
No. Well, I mean, there are little guys, but no. This one's huge.
Oh. Oh, he's like a freaking cyclops. I don't know if I did
Yeah.
fight this dude.
Oh my god. So I saw that in the depths at one point. And of course it was dark, but I could see it moving and I was like, what in the hell is that? So I got real scared and I climbed up in a tree and I accidentally like made some noise or fucking whistled or whatever because that's awesome. That's always what I do. And so he saw me and he, I swear to God, jumped 2 football fields of in-game length at me in the tree up really, really high. And I was like, absolutely not. I'm out. And I teleported out of there immediately. It's like, not about that.
That's hilarious.
It scared the bejesus out of me. It's crazy.
I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, the Gleeox. Did you kill the Gleeox yet? Any of them? All of them?
Oh, hell yeah. So I was exploring, because they're in the sky, they're on the ground, and they're underground. I don't know if you noticed that. There's certain sky islands, the big round sky islands where they are. And then they're obviously on the ground like fucking everywhere. Outside of the Colosseum, on top of Spectacle Rock, they're everywhere. And there was a quest where it needed like the Gleeok guts, and so I needed to hunt down a bunch of Gleeoks, and I had to kill 3 of those before I got the guts. So I don't know if I just missed it or like it was just one of those things where it doesn't always drop with every enemy. And so I went to King Gleeok, and that guy is a pain. He's got the lightning head, the fire head, and the icy head, and they shoot all that at you at the same time.
Yeah. I only took out the lightning one, but it was pretty satisfying, and then the rewards I got were absolute garbage. I was like, this sucks.
Yeah, they're the hardest enemies in the game, and they don't even give you like the best fuse items.
Yeah.
Sucks. But yeah, those are really fun. Those were super rewarding. Like, it was like the Lionels from Breath of the Wild. Like, when you took down a Lionel, you felt good, right?
Yeah.
Took down a Gleeok in this one, you felt good. That was awesome. And then we didn't really talk about, like, enemy diversity. That's something that was totally lacking in Breath of the Wild. Not lacking, but it wasn't as good as it is in Tears of the Kingdom. People are like, it's just repetitive. Like, I know when I turn this corner, I'm going to get a freaking Bokoblin and a Moblin, and that's going to be it. And then maybe a Lionel. This one took it out of control. There are so many enemies and so many different versions of every enemy.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, I didn't feel I felt like there was a lot of variety. I would probably skip up the Bokoblins the most, but you know, anytime I saw Hinox and his little gang, or no, it wasn't him that had the little gang. But one of those big boys would just like walk around and his little homies are following him. I was like, that's adorable. I'm going to end y'all right now.
The boss Bokoblin is what he is. He's a big, fat guy.
Yeah.
Big, beefy Bokoblin. Heck yeah. That was really fun. But yeah, Tears of the Kingdom basically doubled the kind of enemy types that Breath of the Wild had. Tears of the Kingdom doubled what Breath of the Wild had. I don't know if I said that opposite. But yeah, that was awesome. Oh, also, this had happened after the gloomy hand scary thing, so I was already on edge. And so I went to some cave or whatever, and I was like, wow, this is like my first cave or whatever. And so I went to the cave, and a freaking army of geese flew out of it, like a jump scare. That scared me. And then so I ran away from that into a grove of trees, and then the fucking trees started coming at me. I was like, this is crazy. Everything's popping up at me. It scared me, but I also really, really liked it.
Yeah. The
Evermeans
were
God, it's like a rush.
annoying.
It was like, I had to run away. It was crazy. There's so many jump scares in this game. But that was fun. That was a fun experience.
I definitely enjoyed fighting the constructs.
Yes.
I don't know. I guess those were kind of like the most skilled of the enemies that you had to fight. They were always a good time.
And they always drop the best stuff to fuse.
True, yeah.
They always had the cool orange and blue kind of blade extensions. Liked that. And then how did you feel about the freaking, what are they called? Horoblins? or whatever, the cave things. Have you looked at those things in the face?
They're pretty ugly.
They're scary and ugly. They're ugly. They come at you with freaking extra super go-go gadget long spears.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, they were
awesome.
alright. I mean, they were pretty easy for the most part. I mean, everything was, like, really hard once they got the silver coating on them. But, yeah, for the most part, those guys were pretty easy.
Yeah, and also a big thing, I don't know, maybe this is the tips and tricks section, but any enemy besides Lizalfos that falls in the water is dead.
Yeah.
So if you can hit that bitch in the water, hit him in the water.
And it's a lot easier in this game thanks to the mushroom and the freaking fan.
Heck yeah. Also, if you see a bloopy, which is like the neon blue bunny looking thing, one, you can hit them and get rupees. But if you follow them, they'll lead you directly to a cave. So if you see a bloopy, that means cave.
Very interesting.
Yes, I got that from the tip section of the loading screen.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah, so I was like, huh, that makes sense.
What is Gloom Spawn you have written down here? Is that the hands?
Oh, those are the hands.
Oh, okay.
That's what they're called. The gloomy hands that scream at you.
Battle Talus was pretty cool.
Also, I guess... Yeah, have you beaten one of the gloomy hands?
I don't know.
Before?
I might not have.
Because if you beat them, then that spawns Phantom Ganon.
Oh.
And then it's kind of like the boss fight that happens in the castle. Like the mid-boss fight.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. And he always drops Dark Clumps, and then either the Gloom Spear, the Gloom Club, or the Gloom Sword.
No, I definitely never saw Phantom Ganon until the castle fight.
Which, I don't know if you want to get to the boss fight now.
Well, let's talk about the characters. You said you wanted to talk about them. The 4 homies.
Oh, yeah. So the partner system, the partner system was fine. I like that. Breath of the Wild had the same thing, except for these characters follow you around. And their powers, like, you had to specifically activate them. Like in Breath of the Wild, the other ones would just kind of activate based on what you're doing, except for Rivali's Gale, which is whenever you shoot up into the sky. You had to, like, specifically press that one. But Mipha's Grace, if for somehow, you lost all your hearts, she would automatically kick in. Daruk's Protection would kick in if you were holding the shield button for so long, and his power would kick in if an enemy were going to hit you. Same thing with Urbosa's Fury. You swung your sword around and then unleashed it, and then the lightning would show. And of course there's a cooldown time, which is normal. This one, though, the enemies followed you around, and you had to, like, be next to them in order to activate them. And I found myself so many times having to chase these guys just to get, like, their power. It's like, it's not even worth it. It's like, you stay there, and I will come to you. But I hate, like, that's why I didn't use a lot of their powers very often. Because I had to go chase them. Might as well just use one of my own items. It would have been faster. The only one that didn't have a problem with that, though, was Tulin, because he flies next to you when you're kind of paragliding, so you will press A and he's just always there.
Yeah, that was for sure
so that
nice.
One was never a problem.
I got, when you only had 1 or 2 of the dudes, it wasn't a big deal about this, but there was a lot of times later in the game where I was just trying not to click on them, which is like, it's not a big deal if you do click on them, but it is a little frustrating when the whole map turns yellow and you're like, oh, I didn't mean to freaking turn this on.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you could deactivate them, but for the most part, I was pretty good about using them. I especially liked using, not in battle, but I liked using the Goron dude to destroy rubble or whatever, instead of breaking my weapons. But he really didn't do a lot of damage to enemies. I would still use him as an attacker, but he didn't do a lot of damage.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I actually turned them off, though, by the time, because there was 5 of them running around, and I was, like, clicking all sorts of buttons, and I was like, no, I need that, and it's like, oh, no, I didn't need that. So the only ones I had turned on were Tulin and Yunobo for a long time. The other ones I turned off, because I didn't really use them. There was no really point for me to. I might as well just use an arrow.
Yeah.
To kind of do the same damage. I did like, however, that Yunobo, he sat on the front of all of the cars that you made, and you could shoot him off like a rocket. That was fun.
It's like so, like, if you try to think about, I know it's a video game, but if you try to think about what is happening here, this dude is like spinning on thin air in front of you on every vehicle you build, and I could never get over
Hey
it.
now.
um,
We're gonna talk about physics here. Come on.
but it was helpful for sure.
I like that one a lot. Yeah, my only criticism is just that I wish they had stayed put, and then I would go to them.
Yeah.
Versus them running around in reaction to me running, so it's not like it's a bad system. They run to the, or I run to the right, they run to the right, right? It makes sense, except for the fact that I have to activate them. That was the only thing.
Yeah.
But other than that, I like them a lot.
And, you know, having 4 dudes helping you battle was also a kind of a nice touch.
Yeah, they didn't really help that often. The only thing, like, they would sometimes, like, Tulin would sometimes hit an enemy, like, right in the eyeball, and then it get knocked back, and I was like, hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But other times, they just kind of sit there, and I was like, come on, do your thing. Help me out. They did kind of take attention away from me, though. Sometimes if there's multiple enemies, like, some of the enemies will run over to them, which was nice. I liked that. I forgot about that. That was helpful.
For sure.
It's like, yeah, you go deal with them. I'm going to go mine this ore over here. Forgot about that.
All right, we can talk final boss now.
So I was not there when you went to the castle because you thought you were going to be done once you got to the castle. Like, I thought I was going to be done when I got to the castle, but I loved the fact that there was a psych out boss. I loved that. That was awesome.
Yeah, I think I might have said this. I by no means wanted to end this game this quickly, but I did think that was going to be the end. And so what's today? On Sunday night, I was like, yep, I'm going to go beat the game now, and then I'll have time to take notes on Monday. Tuesday, we record.
You even texted me, and I was like, that's so funny. I almost texted you because you're like, oh, I'm like in the end game, or like I'm at the last dungeons. And I was like, I don't think that you are, but I don't want to say that.
So I go and I went to the castle like 3 different times. I went there. I did this first little thing, like you go see Zelda. She's fake, and she sends these enemies to you. And I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm ready for this. Right. And then I went home, did some more shrines, did whatever I wanted to do. And then I went back. I did the shrine at the castle, and I did a bunch more of the Zelda stuff. I was like, I don't think I'm ready. And then finally Sunday night comes around, and I'm like, all right, let's do this. I'm ready, Ganon. No. Ganon wasn't ready for me.
Psych.
I was like, all right, that was an easy phase 1. Where's phase 2 at? Let's go. Yeah. So the Phantom Ganon fight was cool.
I like that.
But so you said you also felt the same way? You thought the game was going to end right there?
Yeah, so I went to the castle. I avoided going anywhere near the castle. I went to go see Captain Haas that first time, and then I had never gone back to the castle. And then one time I was like, oh, you know what? I bet there's some really cool like armor and like really cool weapons in the castle. So I went to the castle. And this was before I had gotten all of the Zeldas of Fake from no, not the temples, well, I guess, yeah, the temples too, and then also some of the side stories in the horse stables where it's like, oh, it's Zelda's trapped, and it's like, psych, it's just the Yiga clan. So, like, I hadn't really caught on to the fact that, oh, of course Zelda's in the castle, she's going to be the one up there. So I went to the castle, explored around a little bit, and I was like, nah, I don't want to be the final boss, so I'm going to leave. Because I accidentally stumbled upon the boss in Breath of the Wild, too. I got too curious. And then I was like, ooh, I wonder what's in this top room. And then, bam, boss fight. I was like, oh, shoot. So I tried not to do that this time. And so I went under the castle because I was like, ooh, what could be under here? And so I made my way all the way down to the bottom. And this is, like, I had, like, maybe 10 hearts or 15 hearts or something. And I had no gloom protection, no Sunday Lion foods, nothing that was going to replenish my heart. So I got all the way to the bottom. Right, where you get, like, the hordes of enemies before you get to, like, that really awful, malicey looking structure or whatever. And this cutscene started playing, and I had, like, 2 hearts left, where Tulin's like, oh, don't fight without us. And I was like, nope, psych, get out. And I exited out real quick. But I had no idea that he was down there. I thought he was in the castle the whole time, so I wasn't worried about going under. I was like, oh, maybe there's, like, an extra cool shrine. I'll get, like, another heart or something.
Holy crap.
I didn't even know that. And then I went back up to the castle, and I saw Phantom Ganon, and I was really confused. I was like, there's no way this is the final boss. But it totally psyched me out. It totally got me.
How funny.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And exploring the castle, of course, is a lot of fun. It always is. The music there is great.
Yeah.
The boss is great.
For sure.
But the boss fight at the end was super fun. Like, that's... If I could describe it in one word, it would just be fun.
Fun is
like,
the right word.
The whole experience was just so rewarding and fun. It was so good.
Yeah.
Actually, I watched you experience it, so it was kind of fun for me to see, like, your reaction.
Yeah. Honestly, starting out with the hordes of enemies was fun, you know, because I've already said in this episode that I really liked the little go to the pirate ship and take down all these enemies. Like, that's exactly what that was, like times 5, and I loved it. It was so much fun again.
It was also kind of a way, I thought of it as a way to get, like, more last-minute weapons and stuff, because they dropped a whole bunch of, like, really cool weapons that you can attach a whole bunch of stuff to. So I was like, this is awesome. I mean, I already had super powered up weapons anyways, but I was like, can't have, too many.
Yeah.
I really liked that as well.
Yeah, getting to the... Yeah, so I went under the castle before I was ready to fight the final boss, and I went down directly below where that giant, like, root is sticking out, like, straight under the castle.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, let me go down here, see what the heck's down here. Like, I didn't even see anything. And then last night during the stream, these people are like, no, keep going. I'm like, oh... it was tucked away a little bit.
Where? And we're like, dude, the giant tunnel there. What do you mean where?
Oh my gosh, it was totally
tucked away. But yeah, it is kind
of
hidden. It's not very obvious.
Okay.
And then you kept... it was so funny. And I didn't want to write anything because I wanted you to experience it. But of course someone was in the chat telling you what to do. But I was like, bro, go deeper. You kept, like, transporting here and then going to the shrine and then going back to the castle. You're like, I feel like you guys are telling me to go back up to the castle. And we're like, no, dog. Just keep looking under there. Go deeper. Oh, man. And then, of course, there's just enemy after enemy after enemy. There's a freaking light lights which freeze you. There's a freaking screamy hands that come after you. It was crazy. I got battered around down there before I even got to the boss fight.
Yep, and you had... I mean, I was super prepared with the food, like you said earlier, but, yeah, I used a lot of Sundelions to get some good food for the restoration of the grayed out hearts and the gloom.
Yep.
But yeah, I was pretty prepared. And yeah, so you fight the hordes of enemies, and then that man Ganon comes out, and you have 2 one-on-one fights, right? Am I skipping anything?
Nope, you're right. So he first comes all, like, decrepit in his corpse form, and then he talks to you, which, by the way, the voice actor for that was awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
Loved his voice actor. He freaking nailed it. And he's all decrepit, and then he's like, oh, how disappointing. I wanted to fight, like, an actual good, enemy, blah, 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 blah. And then he turns into, like, his super, like, buff, fleshy form. And then you fight him. So the first fight is, like, really easy. You're like, wow, this is, like, stupidly easy. And then the second phase, he, like, gets all gloomed up and uses, like, his secret stone. And then he's, like, shooting gloom at you, and he's a lot more powerful. His hits hit harder. And then he can also counter you.
Yeah.
So, like, if you try to do a flurry rush, he'll do a flurry rush, and then you have to do another flurry rush to counter his flurry rush that countered your flurry rush. It's just a lot of, like, perfect timing, which I really, really liked. It was really rewarding to, like, smash him. This is funny, because I was watching your reaction to, like, the second phase starting, and you missed what, like, freaked me. I was like, holy shit! After his health bar, you, like, it completely drains in the first section. And then it fills up in the second one, and then it, like, keeps going, like, almost completely off the screen, and you missed it. That was, like, my biggest reaction. I was like, oh, okay, this is that kind of boss fight. And you totally missed it.
That's funny.
And that was really funny to watch. And then somebody in the chat was like, dog, look at it. Not that he's really that much harder. He just has different attacks, and he changes it up. There's multiple Ganons trying to fight you, and he uses different weapons. Still really fun, though.
It was like
the final phase.
Before you get into that, it was awesome. A lot of fun, and like just the thought of, like, having a one-on-one fight with the final boss instead of, like, him being this massive pig that is in Twilight Princess or whatever. Just like one-on-one mano-y-mano is like very cool. Before he turns into a freaking dragon.
Wow, you just said mano-y-mano, and that's exactly what I wrote in my notes. That's so funny.
Anything else before we get into that next part? I think that I really enjoyed it. Up to this point, I was like having a great time for sure, and
yeah.
Yeah. All right, go ahead.
So, like, I think I described this on your stream as well. It's like the final phase is just fun. It's not difficult. It's just one of those things that kind of incorporates the whole rest of the world. Like, what you've been traveling around this whole time, the way you've been traversing this world, it just combines all of those elements and all the story elements into one. It wraps it up in a cute little bow.
Yeah.
But it's not difficult. I mean, it's not hard knowing what to do. But just the fact that, like, you're flying through the sky and Zelda comes to rescue you, and then you just, like, ride on her back, and she's, like, super cool, and she'll catch you wherever you are. That was awesome.
Yeah.
And when I was watching you do it, you did it like the manly, like, impatient way. You're like, I'm just gonna smash all these things, and then even if I get thrown to the air, I'm still gonna try to arrow and bomb and blah 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 blah. And it's like, it was so much different than the approach that I had. So first you ride up on Zelda, right? And then you jump off, and he's got all these the flames kind of coming at you, the gloom. And then you go down, you hit the one spot, and then he throws you off. Then you're just flying through the air. Zelda comes and picks you up, and you do the whole thing again, versus what you did, which is like, I gotta get this out of the way right away. I was like, wow. I guess there's more approaches than just mine, but I feel like you did it the impatient way.
As is life.
But it's so fun.
Yeah. It was a great final boss fight, and yeah, it was fun is the word. That's the only word.
It was whimsical. It brought all the story elements and all of the mechanics, except for the Zone Eye stuff, of course, but it ties everything back together. And I think Breath of the Wild's boss fight was not that difficult, and if you it's like widely contested as like one of the worst boss fights in Zelda games of all time, because it was so easy. And even like the big pig Ganon at the end, like you just mentioned, he like didn't move. You're like in this giant expansive Hyrule, and he just like stood in one spot. I don't know. That one wasn't very big. This boss fight might have been my favorite boss fight of all time.
Dang.
It was just so unique and interesting. And just fun. Like, I had a fun time doing it. Versus like other boss fights, I'm like, God damn it, I hate this game, I hate my life, I'm nowhere near strong enough, blah 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 blah, you know?
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be a freaking nightmare, especially with the chat telling me I was gonna die 27 times, but it was a one and done for me.
Yeah, I also didn't die at all. I mean, I had a lot of food, I came really, really prepared, and also I had a lot of really great weapons that I never used, because the Master Sword was all I needed.
Yeah.
Which was nice. I couldn't imagine if the Master Sword would have broken at the final boss, and it's like, we spent this whole time, and Zelda spent bajillions of years to restore the Master Sword, and it breaks? Not cool.
I think I put a diamond on the Master Sword, just to enhance it even further.
Yeah, I also realized that you could fuse things to the Master Sword, like, halfway through the game. But, yeah, I also did something that was pretty high level. I don't remember what it was. Whatever the highest thing I had in my inventory was.
Yeah.
But, yeah. It's good stuff. So, do you want to talk about sales? I don't really have anything for it. I just know that 10 million copies sold in the first 3 days.
Yeah, those are the only numbers that I remember.
That, so yeah. I don't think we'll have any like exact numbers until later on in the investors meeting.
This was,
like you said,
this was like one of those, I mean, everybody knew it was going to be, but it was one of those like not quite Animal Crossing breaking the internet, but it was one of those games that was going to break the internet as soon as it came out, and it definitely did. It was everywhere.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
I mean, Pokemon also had like 10 million in a very short amount of time. The Scarlet and Violet It'll be interesting to compare all that data when the numbers come out.
I'm interested to see if Tears of the Kingdom will outsell Breath of the Wild. I have a feeling it will, but I don't know.
We
shall see.
Over $500 on all of Tears of the Kingdom between the collector's edition and the console and the freaking. Wait, is that it?
I bought the Amiibo. I bought the game twice. I also have 2 collector's editions. You name it. I don't know what's wrong with me. I couldn't help myself.
Good times. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy that I bought the Switch OLED for it and the game didn't suck. You know, that's always a good feeling.
Heck yeah. $70. Totally worth it.
Reviews, I think it's pretty clear. The game got 10s across the board, except for a couple of weirdos that thought it was like a 9.5 or something.
Definitely.
Let's talk about closing thoughts here. Replayability, Hannah.
Oh, yeah. You know I'm going to be finding every Korok seed.
I don't know if that's replay.
I don't... Of course it is.
I mean, you're still finding them and playing it for the first time. But yes, obviously this game has infinite replayability. Go ahead.
Definitely. Well, there is a direct tomorrow, spoiler alert for the news. Ooh. But I wonder if we'll get some DLC at some point. I mean, I assume so, right?
Yeah, so where do you want this to go? Do you want there to be DLC?
Yeah. So the DLC that happened in Breath of the Wild was, like, super awesome. So one of the things that they added was, like, more shrines. Like, different kinds of shrines are a little more in-depth, a little harder. And then they also added a Sheikah boss fight, where it's, like, I think... Oh, man, I can't remember his name, but it's, like, a really cool fight with one of the Sheikah bosses. They added the Master Cycle Zero. They added the Hero's Path, which was an automatic feature in Tears of the Kingdom that maps out your journey everywhere you are.
Mm-hmm.
The medallions, which in this game you get 3, before it was just 1. I think they added something else. And then they also added the Hero, Trials of the Hero, which is you put the sword back into the pedestal of the Great Deku Tree, and then you have this, I guess it's just trials where they strip you of all your stuff, and you have to get through beating all these enemies and these guardians. It gets harder every trial. I think there's 12 total, and you can't die. So you're thrown into this arena, and you have to beat all these enemies in these different levels. Only using what you're given in those levels. That was fun. I did that so many times.
Nice.
Because it was just a cool challenge.
And then, of course, the motorcycle.
Yeah. And they also do, like... Well, yeah, Master Cycle Zero. And then they did all sorts of, like, different memories and cutscenes and stuff after that. So they just expand upon the story. I definitely want some DLC. I will pay me some $30 more for some DLC.
Yeah, I'll be there for it. I'm kind of relying on it. I want it to be the thing that brings me back to this game. I don't see myself playing it a whole lot between now and then. I don't know. Something's going to bring me back to this game. But right now I need a break. I crammed it so hard. And I just really want to play some freaking Trinity Trigger. But...
Heck yeah. Well, that makes me happy to hear. But I will definitely be getting all them Korok seeds at some point. I don't know if it'll be, today or tomorrow, next month, but I'll definitely be slowly but surely finding them all.
Yeah.
Like I did with Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, long pause there. Which game did we prefer, Hannah? Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom?
This one is such a hard one. Do you want to take it first?
I don't know if I can answer it, not having played the game in so long, and also not barely playing Breath of the Wild. Yeah, I probably have double the hours in Tears than I have in Breath of the Wild, but
jeez,
maybe that is the answer right there. Maybe that tells me that I enjoyed this one more.
There you go. I am torn. I obviously like Tears of the Kingdom. It improved upon Breath of the Wild in so many ways, but there were some points in the game where I was feeling like, oh my gosh, Breath of the Wild just seems so much simpler. Like I didn't have to do this, do this, do this. and do all these different kinds of things. And at that point, the simplicity of Breath of the Wild I liked more. But I think overall, I think I like Tears of the Kingdom better. I think I can definitively say that. Just because there was so much more to explore and there were so many different ways to play the game. But Tears of the Kingdom would definitely not be as good as it is without Breath of the Wild.
For sure.
I think that is safe to say.
Do you think
that
a third game could use the same map?
Ooh, that is a good question. No, I don't think so.
I think we're done with this exact map. I don't think a third game for $60 or $70 is going to have enough new stuff to explore, and I think we're done with it.
The only thing I think that would make me return to the same Hyrule is if something completely drastically changed about it, like it was underwater, or like half of it was like, sunken, or like they changed the topography completely, and then you could like explore underwater, which I know that's debated if that's actually good or not. But I don't know. I don't think we can, unless it's something that completely transforms the entire area.
I don't see them making a third game. I think that they know that we've seen enough of it, but I don't know. I honestly, I have no idea where the series is going to go from here. I think if they were to keep going with this style of Zelda game, these two that they've just done, then we would need a new map for sure. But I'm sure we have a very long time to figure out.
Oh yeah.
To decide what that's going to look like.
Let's just say I think we'll both be in our 30s the next time the next one comes out. Heck yeah. But I could see using the same Zelda and the same Link and maybe going somewhere else, exploring some other kingdom. I mean, we've been in tons of different kingdoms over the Zelda series, so I could see something like that.
I'm definitely not tired.
I don't know if they want to keep the same engine.
I'm definitely not tired of this engine. I'm not tired of like climbing walls and exploring. Like this is, I could do it a third time, but it would have to be a new map.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I really like the physics and climbing and exploration and just the way everything looks. I really like this art style that they used.
I think I would also like to break away from the 4 dungeons. Like twice in a row is kind of a little repetitive to just have these 4 dungeons. You go to the town, you find out what the problem is, you defeat whatever's there, and then you go fight Ganon. I would need that to change up again.
Yeah, I think that would probably be a good thing, yeah. I agree.
But I suppose whatever they decide to do, I will be picking it up anyway. Because that's what kind of person I am.
Right, because it's the next Zelda game. How could you not? I mean, I think people were really skeptical about this game, and everyone has realized that Nintendo's fucking nailed it yet again. So I don't think we have to worry about the next Zelda game. I hope so. They've proved themselves that they can use the same map, the same characters, the same physics engine, and make a game even better than the first, but also like super fresh and super different, super new. So I think, hopefully, we're in the clear. And every Zelda game from here on out for the rest of time will just be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we got lots of ports and remasters ahead of us for the next few years as far as Zelda goes.
Oh, probably. And probably another 2D Zelda or whatever they decide to do. But, yeah. Nintendo killed it. This was a 10 out of 10. Will hopefully be the game of the year. Just saying.
I can't imagine. Final Fantasy is probably the only real competitor. As amazing as Spider-Man 2 looks, like I think Final Fantasy 16 is the only possible competitor, and I'm not going to be playing that. But, yeah, I'm sure it'll be my game of the year. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. Great game.
Heck yeah. Do you want to do listener responses now?
Oh yes, of course.
Because we got some good ones. Do you want to read the Discord and I'll read the Instagram ones?
Yeah, what is the question for our first question here?
So our first question is, did you like Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild better? Which, and why, of course. So, very, very, different. I also did a poll for this and then asked why. It was like 76%, I'm rounding up here, but 76% preferred Tears of the Kingdom. So there was a bunch of people that played Breath of the Wild, but maybe those people only played Breath of the Wild and not Tears of the Kingdom, so of course they'd vote for that one. So you gotta think about that. But yeah, so we have Hunter Gooden says, frankly, Tears of the Kingdom is so big and its approach to story is so much larger. It makes Breath of the Wild feel like a tech demo. Even the side quests in Tears of the Kingdom feel so much more interesting. It's not just collect 50 rush rooms. It's slaying a 3-headed dragon to save a Gerudo woman's sick husband, which is the one I was talking about, the Gliok guts.
Wow.
Sure, Breath of the Wild has some great story-like side quests, like getting ice to make a noble pursuit. But I feel like every quest in Tears of the Kingdom is like that. Finding the man to build a bridge to save Rito trade routes, finding someone's lost grandma, facing the Yiga who may have kidnapped Zelda, etc. Compared to how static Breath of the Wild felt, with each race largely staying in their own areas with very few exceptions to the quests and desires of the people around Hyrule, to the quests they go on being small stories themselves, the world feels so much more interconnected than it used to. To be clear, I think that Breath of the Wild was an incredible game, one of the best gaming has ever seen, but Tears of the Kingdom elevated it to a whole new level.
That's a chef's kiss response right there. Nobody else even needs to reply.
I agree. We didn't even have to do a 3-hour podcast. We just read that. Okay, next we have Colin Olszewski. I believe it is. He says, I felt like I was coming home after a long trip. I spent a lot of time in Hateno Village in Breath of the Wild, and returning to all these locations felt so strange. The game itself is so beautiful, and to see all these changes felt as though everyone's moved on, and you get to see what became the places you've helped. Love that response, too. We love the continuity from Breath of the Wild to Tears of the Kingdom.
Heck yeah.
And then we have Dinosaur Gods says, I love both, but Tears of the Kingdom feels like it just expands on and makes everything the original did feel even more fun.
Yeah, that's like you said. That's very true, for sure.
And then we have GameCube Freak said, the sense of exploration was the aspect that drew me into Breath of the Wild. Reusing the same basic world in Tears of the Kingdom means that I've been relatively unenthused while playing the new game, especially since I very much preferred traditional Zelda gameplay. So he preferred Breath of the Wild, I guess.
Yeah, that's interesting. People keep saying, like, this is kind of unrelated. People keep saying that the dungeons feel more classic Zelda-y in this game. I really didn't get that vibe.
Really?
It was very much, here's 5 things, go turn them on, fight the boss. And it was kind of boring.
Yeah, I can see that, but it was a more step in the direction of traditional Zelda games, Zelda dungeons, than Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Which it was literally just straight turn on these things. Then we have Nate Wood says, one word, fuse. Obviously voting for Tears of the Kingdom. Then we have Grant My Wishes for 23 says, Tears of the Kingdom because it allows those who spent a lot of time in Breath of the Wild to really disassemble the mechanics and do close legitimately anything you want, while also not having any mechanic that's too difficult to understand for those who didn't.
Yeah.
Then let's see, we have chunkymonkey.exe says, Tears of the Kingdom because it fixes my biggest gripe with Breath of the Wild, which is the story. I thought Breath of the Wild story was too bland and too memory focused. Then we have Andres_D.Castro says, Breath of the Wild because it was something unique for the series. Also because it was has kind of a, in quotations, limit in all the nonsense that we have now, like vehicles, robots, and stuff like that is now in Tears of the Kingdom. I feel that Aonuma ruined the lore of the series and tons of those things.
Dang.
Don't disagree. I don't agree with that one, but that's a personal thing. That's all the responses I got for that one. The next Oh, go ahead. I know you have one really long one.
We got a couple here, but yeah, one's super long. Tyler, Game Collecting Reaper, said, for me, I gotta say Tears of the Kingdom. At first, I was like, they can't top Breath of the Wild, and man, was I wrong. The fusion mechanic added so many unique possibilities, and the different things you could craft in the game to either help in combat or traverse the world added that much more depth into the world. Seeing people make simple vehicles to full-blown mechs like Zelda Cross Gundam, which saying that the depths, don't even get me started, that was amazing to explore.
All right. Agree.
I just feel like I'm the only depths hater out here. Cosmic says, I've got to say, I didn't expect them to be able to beat Breath of the Wild, and I was so happily surprised. The game feels like a continuation while still feeling unique. I definitely benefit from playing Breath of the Wild so extensively, but the introduction of new mechanics prevent me from approaching the puzzles and challenges in Tears of the Kingdom the same way I would have if I were playing Breath of the Wild. The new enemies and additions of armored variants of existing enemies also prevent combat from feeling samey. When I first fought a Lionel in Tears of the Kingdom, I was expecting a similar fight to what I'd gotten used to when hunting them in Breath of the Wild, but the guy had armor, and I was absolutely helpless. I died, I respawned, and was forced to strategize in a new way to figure out how to get past this strange new obstacle. I loved it. The map is also enormous and far larger than what anybody had expected going into the game. Nintendo had us so focused looking up at the sky that fans never thought to wonder what was beneath their feet. I love it. The addition of new caves and wells also made exploring areas otherwise familiar to Breath of the Wild fans an adventure all over again. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Tears of the Kingdom is the superior game in my opinion. However, that would not have been possible without the groundwork laid by Breath of the Wild and even Age of Calamity. I absolutely love these games, and I'm having so much fun exploring and discovering all the secrets. This is literally you. I think you typed this up, Hannah.
Oh, it could be. That's my alt. Don't blast me.
Yeah, that was beautiful. That brought a dragon's tear to my eye.
I agree. Oh, someone go collect it. We can see that memory. All right. Let's see. The next question I asked is, what would you rate it? Well, it's no surprise. It's like a 9.9. So, I guess that one's not super interesting. Do you have any ratings over there?
I mean, it was like 10 out of 10. But how many people responded?
Oh. We have 159.
Very nice.
So, I mean, a lot of people just slid it all the way over to 10. Not that it didn't deserve that, but, some people just do that as a new game is coming out. But yeah. And the third and final question I asked is, how many hours have you put into Tears of the Kingdom so far? Let's see. The options were less than 30, approximately 40 to 60, approximately 70 to 90, or 100 plus. 26% said less than 30. 25% said about 40 to 60. 16% said 70 to 90. And 32% said 100 plus. So, that would be me. I'm in that category. Heck yeah. And that was voted by over 300 people. Doesn't add up the number for you, but looks like 300.
So that was that was like in the last week you asked that one, I believe. So
yeah, I try to ask that one as close to the podcast as possible so we got the most accurate reading.
Smart.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for the responses, which you can always respond to us on Hannah's Instagram story or in the Discord.
Yep.
Links to both in
we'll be asking those.
The chat.
A couple, at least, we tried to do at least one question, but this time we did 3 because we're sadists.
I said in the chat, I meant in the description those. To be clear. But that's it. That's Tears of the Kingdom. I think we have talked it to death after 2.5 hours.
Hopefully we, I don't know, gave you some good opinions, maybe some hot takes. I don't know. Let us know if you didn't like anything that we said.
Even though I'm ready for a break, you have me excited to explore so much. You've taught me some things that I didn't know. I'm definitely looking forward to getting back into this game when the time comes. I have 24 out of 139 side quests, so I got lots to do still.
That is crazy. I just can't believe how different we are at playing.
It doesn't make sense.
I only have 15 more hours than you, and I have so much more done.
It's so crazy. I mean, I have no idea. I have no explanation for it. Maybe you're faster at shrines, exponentially faster at doing shrines than I am. I don't know, man.
I don't know. Maybe I'll watch you play the next time I'm in Texas. Just observe you. Like, what do you do? Heck yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I'm glad we actually got to talk about it. Finally.
Literally, talked about Breath of the Wild for 4 years on this podcast and waited for the sequel, and it's finally here, and it did not freaking disappoint.
No, it did not. I have very, very small criticisms of the game, and like I said, very small.
Let's do our news, been buying, been playing as we close out this episode here.
Yes, now that there's 6 people watching and we know exactly who you
are. Let's talk about the news, Hannah. I have one thing written down. Do you have a lot written down? What do you got?
For news, I got a few things. Do you want me to start?
Yeah, you could do that.
Okay. So if you've been on Twitter as of today, which is the 20th, there is a Nintendo Direct tomorrow.
Woo!
Which, if you're watching this, which the Direct will have already happened, and there'll be a bunch of new games. Maybe Metroid Prime 4. You want to make some predictions real quick?
I just want to see a new Switch or something. I think that'd be pretty cool. More money for me to blow after I just bought one.
You just spent almost $400 on a new system, and you want another one?
You're right. Do not unveil a new one.
Yeah, not yet, man. At least give me a year to enjoy my Switch so I can buy another one and do all the freaking save transfers again.
And get a third orange screen.
Bruh. That just makes me so angry. Anyway. So yeah, hopefully a bunch of cool stuff is announced. Maybe a new Mario game? There's gotta be a Mario game around the corner.
Yeah.
Anyway, 1-2-Switch is getting a sequel called Everybody 1-2-Switch. That was a stealth Twitter drop that I don't think anybody wanted.
No one was ready for that. So I don't know if you saw it today. They were posting about, they posted that they did some kind of influencer get together to make this trailer for this game.
Oh,
did you see this?
No.
They got 16 influencers to Japan and sat them down to play this game. Not sat down, they're all standing playing this game, and they're recording it, and it's just they're trying to make it look like this really awesome time. And the worst part is that they have this host that's telling them what they're going to be doing next and what game they're going to be playing next, and he's wearing the freaking horse hat from the cover of the game.
Yeah. Yes. Why?
It's awful.
Why?
I don't know what's the deal with the horse head.
That was a thing 6 years ago, 7 years ago in high school. It was oh my god, these horse heads. Ha ha ha. Ugh.
I'm sure the game will be awful. Great, to tell you the truth.
Oh no, I'm sure it'll be a super fun party game. I mean, I have 1-2-Switch and I've played it, and it is a blast.
It looks like...
I mean, to play with your friends. I'm not going to play it alone.
Apparently you can play with 100 people because it's going to be like Jackbox where you can use your phone.
Oh. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That would be fun. Again, I mean, me and my friends could have fun in a freaking plastic bag with a stick, but this is so much better than that.
Yeah. I'm not going to rule it out. I'm sure it'll be good.
Let's see. Kirby Tilt and Tumble, Blaster Master Enemy Below, Harvest Moon, and Mystery Tower are on Nintendo Switch Online if you have the expansion pack.
Dude, very good drops.
Also, Fire. Yeah, I agree. Tilt and Tumble, I think, I don't want to make this up, but I think you actually like tilt the Switch and like can play with it that way.
That's how it is on the Game Boy.
Updated it for the Switch.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, so you can. They brought it to modern Switch, which I think is really, really cool. Also, Fire Emblem for the Game Boy Advance is coming to Nintendo Switch Online in 2 days, so June 22nd. So it'll be playable when you listen to this.
Very, very cool.
Also, Pastel color Joy-Cons are coming to the West.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Previously they were only in Japan, I believe. So there's a really pretty purple and green set, and then pink and yellow is the other set. And they look super nice.
Yep, they sure do.
Also, the last news I have here is Persona 3 Reload is coming to Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation, available sometime early 2024, as well as Persona 5 Tactica, which I guess is just another spin-off of Persona 5. They're really milking that IP, baby. Heck yeah. But yeah, that is what I got for the news.
Have you played any Personas yet?
Absolutely not.
Same.
Yeah. That could be one we could play.
Yeah, I'd
Persona
be down for
5,
one of those.
That one's readily available. Ooh, that would be fun. Write that down.
Oh, man, it's probably another 100 hours.
Heck yeah! Let's get it.
The only thing I wrote down was Sonic Superstars. I am really excited about this new 2D Sonic that just got announced at Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest, and it looks good. It looks like Sega's not going to let us down, and I'm happy.
That is awesome for Sonic fans. I know their games have been kind of all over the place recently. So good for them.
You've been buying any video games for your collection, Hannah?
No, I've been packing all of my video games away in my collection. Because I'm getting ready to move. So, no, I'm not trying to bring anything into the house right now.
Makes sense. How's the packing going?
What about you? Oh, it's awful. This is my 3rd time now, and I have even more stuff than I did before, so just fucking awful.
Yep.
I hate it. But yeah, what about you?
Goodwill Finds, the website for Goodwill's auctions and stuff, they had a sale last week, and they had this crazy sale where you spend $200 and they give you $100 off. It was absolutely insane.
Whoa! Why didn't you clue me in, dude?
Bro, you gotta start using the Discord if you want the deals.
Hey, man.
So anyways, I bought a PS3 Super Slim, and I bought something else that I'm gonna resell, and hopefully get the PS3 for free. So yeah, that's what's going on in my life. The PS3, mine overheats constantly. And it's done that like since I bought it at a garage sale. So I've never been able to like get more than 30 minutes into a game, and it's the worst. But this is a common problem for these fat PS3s, and so I am super excited to have a PS3, maybe stream some PS3 games in the future, but yeah, like finally get to play this collection of PS3 games that I have. I'm really looking forward to it. Maybe some Drakengard.
Oh, I was about to say, can I request the game? And that was going to be it. Drakengard 3, baby, is the coolest game I've ever played.
We could, that could be an
PlayStation
episode.
Game I've ever played. I would love to play that one again. I have not played that one in a very, very long time.
Looks fun.
Love that one. Heck yeah. Let's play that one.
I also I won an auction. I was the only bidder for Wave Race 64's completely complete in box, all the inserts, and it was like $20 plus shipping, so very cool.
That's nice. Bargain.
This has...
I love that game.
I know you do. This game has not arrived yet. I got Monster Hunter... What is this? 4 Ultimate on 3DS for like $10 because I won an auction. It was like 2 a.m, about to fall asleep, and I was like, wait a minute, what is that? And I clicked bid, and it was a good deal.
Are you gonna be playing that?
Oh,
or do you still have Monster Hunter PTSD?
No.
Okay, all right.
No. Monster Hunter guaranteed certified not an unlockable podcast game.
Right. We already did that. I'm good for a lifetime.
But yeah, those are the highlights of what I've been buying. Have not been spending a ton of money. But yeah, I think that's the podcast right there.
Well, that sounds about right. We're at 3 hours.
Hannah, I forgot to ask, have you been playing anything?
Oh, just just a small indie release. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Tears of the Kingdom.
Literally consumed me for 5 weeks. I wanted to play so many things.
Oh yeah.
But I have stayed strong, and a little bit before bed, I will still play Yoshi's New Island on 3DS. Like, you can knock out 2 levels in like 10 minutes. It is such a fun game. I think you would really enjoy it if you got the chance.
Yeah, if I owned it, I'd definitely play it.
Yeah.
I love the Yoshi games.
But yeah, I'll be done with that one in the next few weeks probably.
Well, cool. Next time I come up, let me borrow it.
Oh, it's the least I could do. I've had 2 of your games for like 2 years.
Yeah, that's so funny. I went and I cataloged. Wow. Okay, it's late. Cataloged all of my Switch games, and I could not find 2 of them, and I was like, I'm losing my mind. This is another Kirby freaking Star Allies.
No.
I just lost these games. I just straight up lost them. And then I was like, wait a second. I know what those games are.
If you ever need them back.
I was going to text you if you still had them, but I'm sure you do.
Whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I freaked out about that for a good 20 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Then I remembered.
I was going to ask, what games, if any, are you looking forward to for the rest of the year?
Nintendo has been like super radio silent. Like, I know there's Pikmin 4 coming out, and obviously Everybody Want to Switch is coming out. And that's it. Like, that's really the only games that they're hopefully more announced tomorrow. So maybe I can give you a better answer tomorrow. But none. I was just gonna play Tears of the Kingdom until the end of the year. No, I'm sure they'll come out with something.
Yeah.
And then I'll just spend another $70 or whatever the heck they're gonna charge now. But nothing really.
You started Metroid Prime, right? Did you end up not liking that?
I very much dislike Metroid Prime.
Okay.
And it sucks because I wanted to like it so bad.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just not really used to first person shooters. So that gameplay just, I don't know. I wanted to like it. It's cool sci-fi. I love that shit. And then I got to this one level where it's the first time you meet one of the little Metroid things, and he's in like a container, and it's like, I don't know, you're working your way down like this big silo thing. And I was reading all the stuff, and I was doing really well. And then the lights turn black, and then this Metroid is chasing you, and you have to put on the visor thing that you can see in the dark. And I just got dogpiled with enemies, and I was like, this is not fun.
Dang.
I don't like this.
I thought you were going to say you got scared.
And then, yeah. Well, it was terrifying. No, it wasn't that scary. It was intense for sure, but no. And then there's just not many opportunities to save, and the first little area I kept getting lost. And it was not a good time. I may or may not pick it up again like 10 years from now. So I'll tell you that.
All right. Well, hopefully you like Trinity Trigger.
Oh. And I gotta play Mario and Luigi.
Oh, snap. Perfect time to plug that episode.
Yeah, I gotta start that. Heck yeah, we gotta start that.
Yeah, let's wrap this up. People are tired of listening to us, I'm sure. Heck yeah. That's not true. If they were tired of listening to us, they just turn it off. But
they would have stopped 2 hours ago.
Thank you for listening to our thoughts on Tears of the Kingdom. If you've made it this far, you're crazy, and we appreciate you.
Yes, very much so.
We don't want your money, but we do want you to go and rate this wherever you're listening to it. Apple Podcast, you just click on the little 5-star icon. That would be much appreciated. If you're on YouTube, give it a thumbs up. And if you're on social media, go follow Hannah at GameGirlAdvanceSP on Instagram.
Yes.
And I am on every social media, wasting my life away at Bird Dog Gaming. And the next episode will be Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga on the Game Boy Advance. So,
woohoo!
Go pop that in to your Game Boy Advance or play it on your Switch and get ready for episode 40 because that was going to be here in like 3 or 4 weeks, and we will see y'all then.
See ya.